I can share mine.
Thank you.
I forgot some too.
Good afternoon, everyone. The mayor said he's running a little behind, so I will be stepping in for him. Mr. Van Wagner, do we have any changes, anything that you want us to be aware of?
No, ma'am. We are good to go and ready for your discussion.
All right, so we just go around. Is that sound good? Sure. Okay. You wanna start, Brian? I don't know.
I don't. What is the plan from staff? I guess.
So the plan as staff is just kind of listen to, a few months ago, we did this little exercise where you guys all threw priorities up on a whiteboard and then ranked them. So this is how they laid out is what I put in front of you. And I noted that there was some talk about looking at these priorities as we get ready to start the budget, drawing up the budget to see if anything has changed or anything is added, subtracted, or orders have changed or anything like that. So leaving it to council to discuss it.
If you're not ready, I can go with someone else.
No, I'm
That's
not.
fine.
Thank
Okay.
you.
No worries.
Sure.
Okay.
I can usually talk on the spot. So I look at the priorities through a lens of, we're working on our comprehensive plan, and our comprehensive plan has a certain number of elements to it. And so, you know, the item, complete the comprehensive plan, to me, almost everything on this list is actually part of the comprehensive plan. So I fear if we get into a approach with staff of these are our top priorities, what we're doing, I think, might be akin to treating the symptom rather than the problem, which is kind of getting ahead of ourselves in a way. And I almost felt like when we're looking at the comprehensive plan, maybe some of this, like when we look at walkability, streetlights, golf cart paths, all of these relate to transportation. You know? And then when we look at library, that relates to education, which
Right.
is one of the comprehensive plan elements. Safety, top 10 safest, EMS, 6-minute response time, even getting into streetlights, like all of this is safety, water and sewer, really, you know, that's probably its own element. So I think they all relate in the context of we're working on the comprehensive plan right now.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I keep coming back to. So for me as a council member, my two priorities, I would say, top two, if I had to narrow it down, would be finish the comprehensive plan as soon as possible so that we can make clear decisions on a lot of these other questions. And then second, reduce the millage. I think most of you know why I got here and how I got here. And you know, when I started this journey, for me, we were at 4.21 for about 2 decades. So there's a number for us. I like having clear goals. So those, for me, those are the two things. And to the extent we need to talk about within the comprehensive plan, you know, walkability, clearly 3 out of 5 of us, there's a majority vote there, that's important. So why is walkability important? And I think it would help for staff and the public to know why that's important. Is it important because the way I look at it, we want to be a safe place for families to raise their children. We want affordable housing where people can get to work and job and grocery without having to have a car. The golf carts relate to that. So I think all of that's consistent if the vision is we want to be a safe place to raise your family, to be born and to die, that you can do all of those things. You know, the dash, you can do the whole dash right here in Clermont. So I might be going too high level on this, but I feel like this is a visioning thing.
What is the timeline now for the comprehensive plan?
Great question.
I was about to ask that myself.
Does anybody in the room
No, we
know?
keep on, you know,
Do you have it up to-
is it 6 months, 3 months?
Better not be 6 months.
I can speak a little to it if you want to. Well, the contract has it that they have to wrap things up in November, but the process is going forward. Last week, EPC coordinated with members of different government departments within the city, and they were trying to nail down, for example, on the form-based code, a lot of the metrics that will be used for the form-based code that will be active here in this quadrant of the city. On the comprehensive plan, there's 2 big components of it that we talked about. One is sort of the one that most of us will read, which is the vision. The rest is actually requirements that the state sets out on how we deal with specific issues. And those are getting to that stage where they're being reviewed with staff, so that the first edition that you all will see will be the one that comes after the first revision.
You're saying November?
Well, that's when they're legally obligated to do it. The hope is that we're going to meet November for delivering. And certain aspects of it can also be phased in.
Right.
But we'll know more in the next.
Is the November date a transmittal or adoption? Do you know?
Allison, I didn't mean to
That is
interrupt you.
an
I just-
No, no,
option.
you're
So the typical thing is that the consultant team, they don't know how the politics will be. Sometimes the politics of certain cities stretch out these things for a very long period of time. So they allowed more time that's physically required for them to do their job on the contingency that there may be some bumps along the road. My hope is we'll have more clarity in the very near term.
Is the contractual completion requirement date the same for the zoning, the code part of it as well as the comp plan part of it?
That's my understanding, but I don't know the answer.
The only reason I ask is because your comp plan is your base, you know, and everything after that, including the code, follows. straitjacketed by the comp plan. So it's like, that is the cart, it's the horse. The comp plan is the horse, and then the code is the cart, so.
So related to that, 12 of the 17 items on here all fall under the elements that the comprehensive plan will address.
Right.
And so, so for me, those are the two most important. And then I look at most of these other things and say, these are details underneath the bigger umbrella of the comprehensive plan. Brian, I don't want to call you out. My recollection is that maybe I'm recalling wrong, was the first-time buyers financial education for youth, was that one of yours?
That
I
was
don't-
mine.
I don't
That
think
was
so.
yours.
Yeah.
So is that education, was it home affordability, what, was it all of the things, what was the?
It falls under all of them, but I can't remember exactly what I listed it as.
Could we say it would be consistent with creating a environment that makes it, gives the children of Clermont, as they become adults, an opportunity to own a home?
Yes,
Okay, so family,
yeah.
the dash in the middle. You can live, you can be born and you can die and you can do
Yeah,
everything in between.
yes.
Yeah, so, I think that fits under the comp, so we're, 13 of these 17. So I don't know, as we approach this, what I've observed in the audience, when I was in the audience, was what I felt in my observation was that as we as a community have gone through the budget process in years past, it's kind of like, well, staff would do all this work to say, this is what we think the budget should be. But then it's hard, I think, as a council member to say, well, thanks for doing 100 hours of work. We want to start over, right? I just don't think that's fair, which is why I asked that we do this. And I want to make sure that we are being responsible with our responsibility to have a vision and to give staff parameters around the budget, and that we can then talk about policies. But this is vision and budgeting, so that's why I am glad that we're doing this. So to the extent individual projects need to be addressed, then I'm happy to do that today. It's probably a terrible way to start, but that's where I'm at, if
Okay,
it makes any sense.
fine.
But you're also saying a lot of these things are hinged on what the plan is gonna come in
comprehensive.
November. So it could be leading us, we might have a discussion now about something, and it might not come to fruition if they come up with a different plan.
Well, and maybe.
I'm talking about
yeah.
specifics, like, let's say a multimodal, like, let's say we decide, okay, we'd like to have multimodal traffic down Montrose, and let's take out those parking spots and make that, so I mean, if we try to make that decision today as a priority, and it might not be a priority because it might be something else.
Well, I'm
What
glad
I'm
you
trying to
framed
say,
it.
yeah.
I'm glad you frame it like that, because what I don't want to do is outsource our responsibility to the comprehensive planning team.
Right.
So what I like about doing this and having this conversation is, I will say to you, I think it's a fantastic idea to create multimodal transportation opportunities, because I'm coming from a mindset of, I want Clermont to be a safe place for families
Correct.
and a good place for people to raise their families. And I want to create affordable, and I'm using the lowercase a, I'm personally not advocating for a subsidized, but I am looking for affordable housing solutions, particularly for young people who are starting out and empty nesters who are downsizing from large homes. I don't want people to feel like they have to leave our community.
To go find that.
Exactly. So for me, golf cart, multimodal, walking trails, bike paths, especially maybe a trail system that gets you to schools, groceries, work spaces, recreational places, so that you don't have to get in your car, or maybe 2 parents, 1 income, you only need to have 1 car, that type of situation. So for me, all of those things are consistent with what I see as the vision of creating a safe place for families and entrepreneurs. I think small business is something I hear a lot from people in our community. I hear a lot, we don't want more big box stores. We don't want, we don't want to be, the Kroger situation kind of caused a lot of awareness of the dangers of bringing in a big business who's not from here, for example. Having big business that grew up here, the owners live here, is fantastic. We like that. So I think entrepreneurship, small business, these are all things that if we all agree, I think it helps drive the comprehensive plan And it makes some of these questions easier to answer.
I thought that part of the point of this was to give staff direction for their budget, though, for
Yeah.
figuring
Yeah,
out
that's fair.
items. I mean, not just comp plan vision,
Yeah.
but like, so that no one's ambushed as they prepare for the budget items.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of where, what's supposed to be driving the conversation.
That's fair. Thank you for keeping me on track. So I look and say we have transportation, safety, recreation. There are others, but those are kind of the categories that I think jump out at me. I like talking about water and sewer because I'm hearing a lot coming out of Tallahassee that we want to protect public safety in the conversation about potentially cutting property taxes. But my priority would be to protect our water
Right.
and our sewer. So I would like to know if we're all on the same page on that. There was only one vote on that one, but I think that's probably the most important thing.
I
that we
believe,
do.
I agree with you on that one.
Probably one
We
of the
want-
more
we want
expensive
safe
ones
drinking
too,
water.
in the long run.
Well, it would kill us all if
Yeah,
we
but
all
we
got
need water.
disease, right? So, that's
We need water.
it may not be the sexiest thing that we do, but I think it's probably the most important. Is that something that we agree on?
I agree with that.
Well, I think there's, we've talked about whether or not we want to see an emphasis placed on reclaimed and reuse water be a
Right.
part of irrigation, and I would consider that to be a part of that category. And so if it's a priority, I don't know where currently, and maybe the city manager or department heads can answer in Public Works about where they're looking or where they've had conversations about reclaimed or reused water and what priorities are currently existing related to that and water and sewer to see if we're on that same path. I thought that primarily, I think probably for me would have been the approach I would have preferred, is to hear kind of where departments were heading, to not necessarily say we approve, but to say you're on the right track, here are some thoughts, otherwise, or to say, nah, none of us are really interested in pursuing agenda X. So maybe that may not be a good idea to include that in the budget
Right.
at
Good
this
idea.
point.
Yeah.
To then get to that point where it's actually proposed.
I like that.
Well, and I think that where I view this particular setting that we're in is I thought we had all day originally, and now we're down to a couple hours.
Couple hours, yeah.
And so if we went through each department doing even a 10-minute presentation, that takes up the whole 2 hours. So, on the reclaimed reuse, I'm glad you bring that up. My feelings as it pertains to water are that water is a finite resource. I'm also mindful that we sit over the aquifer on the Lake Wales Ridge, and it's a very important section of the state. And I think we have an extraordinary duty to our fellow Floridians not to be haphazard with how we approach the natural water that's coming out of the earth,
Yes.
and also how we waste it. And I mean that not in the.
I know what you mean.
I mean, in the context of water waste. So I love the idea of reclaimed reuse, but I end up in the context of balancing millage. It is important to me that we cut the millage. So not that we just spend whatever, but we do have funds available. If reclaim reuse was considered a top priority project, then perhaps that's something that we spend the funds that we have saved over time on, because it would be a capital project versus an ongoing maintenance conversation.
So do we want to figure out, on this list here, which ones we want to put as the top priority and go from there, so then we can see what our department heads, how that all works together, as like Brian had suggested?
I don't mind that approach. I think that sounds like it could work.
What you think, Bill?
Yeah, I think that's, we're gonna rescore now?
Well, what we have up here, yeah, I mean, are we still, does everyone still feel the same way with the number, how we scored it? That was in February, right?
Yep, so I
Well-
see recreation, transportation, safety coming up the most often.
Yep.
And then education. Community engagement could be considered education potentially, and so that's right there in there. So education comes up as well. So if we talk about transportation, safety, education, And then we get into kind of a health,
We have 6-minute and EMS go together, really.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Which is a
exactly.
safety,
Yeah, it's
it goes into
Right.
that category.
So health and safety, if we look at, if we expand safety into health, but then that also, health gets us into water and sewer.
Right.
So somewhere in the health, so health and public safety, water, sewer. I mean, these are the fundamental rules of government, right?
Yeah.
That's what we
They
just
are.
nailed down. And then we get into parks and recreation, transportation, and recreation, or, well, yeah, I don't see anything else on here. So we have said that health, recreation, and transportation, based on this list, are the top priorities. And I don't know if we want to include the millage in there or not.
Well, it's probably a good thing considering that's 70-some% of our budget is
Right.
police, fire, and public works.
Sure is.
I think that's always going to be our priority when that is the case. May I ask a question of maybe the city manager? Currently, as you're working with department heads, what is the plan in discussions of how you're presenting a budget? Are you presenting one budget, and this is the budget that you're recommending council approval of? Are you presenting, this is a budget at this millage rate, this is a budget at this millage rate, this is a budget that prioritizes X or Y? That might help me kind of be able to provide some additional feedback going into planning for that July 8th and 9th, those workshops, those all-day workshops.
Your philosophy on the millage would be very helpful
Okay.
as a group, because
Okay.
if it's one, Mr. Bain, from one end to the other, it makes it very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So if I could get a philosophy
Okay.
today, that would help Scott and I tremendously to know what you all are thinking out of the gate. So that would be the first thing I'd say. Last year, we did a real tedious time of going through every department, and we've been thinking that it's not perhaps the best way to do that, so minute, and looking at it more in a higher level than a real super detailed in every single department, because some of our bigger departments are gonna be where you're gonna wanna spend the majority of your time looking at things.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's beneficial to understand and know, for example, staffing, where we've grown our staff in what areas, by what percentages, what does that look like for our budget, and why? How does that align with the priorities that we've established? Because those things carry multi-year effects and not just let's go buy this item for this year and that may be an expense for this year. And I think that would be helpful to understand some of those things. And also then too, what additional staffing might be being proposed? And is it a net gain or is it a wash because we're reallocating resources within the organization so that we're not adding FTE overall? That's something that I think would be helpful to look at from that higher level perspective. And I agree, I don't need to necessarily say whether or not your a particular department's supply budget is adequate or not. I don't need to necessarily get to that detail. But I would like to know, hey, it's a $0 increase or 0% increase overall. These are the top 3 or 4 areas that we've maybe, if a department has increased, these are the top 3 or 4 areas they have increased. Here are the 3 or 4 areas that if there were any decreases from year over year, what they were and then why. What was that thought process of making that proposal to us to approve through that process? That helps, I think, could help us guide the conversation of, okay, we don't get too tied into specific numbers, but we get tied into a picture of what is happening in that department, or then all departments as a city budget.
Do you have any interest in staff approaching this from a zero-based budgeting perspective, where you're starting at zero?
You know, I've always been a fan of, I can go multiple ways on this. I think there's one philosophy where you could say the city manager is the CEO, present your budget to the board and let the board, work on that, right? I also think that it could be beneficial to help the board, the council, understand that if you want to maintain a millage rate, for example, from the same millage rate as last year, this is what a budget might look like, and these would be the priorities. If we were to entertain increasing a millage, this is what potentially would be done and why. If we decreased, because I think doing that up front maybe eliminates some of the conversation later down the road, where it's like, well, if we don't now do this, then we have to cut this. If we have those conversations up front and we can say, okay, I'm willing to accept a status quo millage rate because it fulfills these priorities. I'm not willing to entertain a lower millage rate because if it cuts this program, but I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to a lower millage rate if we could work that would include different things. So I think having that conversation up front with multiple budget proposals, I know that's additional work and I don't want to get into create 10 budgets, but I do think overall, if you kind of knew, I think numbers and cents, dollars and cents wise, there's a way to know about, okay, for every X amount of dollars you spend, it's so much millage. And so if we have that philosophy going into it, we can kind of see what it would do overall if we made some
I
alterations.
like that. I was
here
gonna
and there.
suggest that you took the words out. So,
I like it.
Yeah, I like that.
Well,
Because I think it makes it more fair, and we know, you know what I'm saying? Because, like you said, we can have a list of 25 things we want, but if we have the millage too low, it's not gonna fulfill those things. You know what I'm saying? Like you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think anybody up here, I'll speak for myself, I wouldn't sit here and say, I need you to bring me a budget that increases the millage.
Yeah.
I don't have it.
Great.
I don't have it, I have no evidence just to say that we need a budget that,
Right.
that increases millage, right?
Right.
I also, on the reverse side of that, am not willing to say it right now, today, bring me a budget and I'm gonna only approve a budget that decreases the millage rate, because I don't know what that budget looks like. And that's why I think having some ideas as to, philosophically, here's what we might propose if we did status quo, a decrease, and then here are the other wild cards if we punch in, pull out, move around, kind of move the puzzle pieces, and then we have that into the discussion picture of the budget.
Before I forget, what is our millage rate right now? You all know what it is?
4.59.
5.9?
We cut it point,
And what is it?
0.29% last time, but it's 4.59.
4.59.
4.5, okay.
And when we did the large increase back in 2022, we had been at 4.21 for 20 years as we had ongoing growth.
Right.
We've annexed a great number of properties, so I believe we will see. Let me just put this out there. I would like to see a budget at 4.21. I'm with you, Brian. I think I would like to see 4.21, whatever is the rollback, whatever is maintenance. Because we're gonna see an extraordinary growth. There's no doubt about it. Property values have gone up and we've annexed hundreds.
Yeah, but I think that could be an arguable point.
Well, let's do this. If we get the report, what is it, the DS 420 or whatever it's called from the county, and we don't have an increase, I would agree with you. I think there's a further discussion that needs to be had.
And when will we know what the rollback rate is in all those numbers?
it could be this month, or last year was July.
Okay.
But Mark was new,
We've already reached out to Mark and asked him for it.
yeah.
Is there like a statutory thing that they have to
Yeah.
give us that information?
It's July, isn't
Yeah, it's
Is it July?
July.
Okay, so,
it? Is it like the 1st of July?
Well, no, sooner than
It's
that.
early in
Yeah.
July, isn't it?
yes.
We're hoping it's soon.
okay, because that could help us,
Yeah.
to that point of thinking about things from current millage, a rollback millage, and then maybe some additional rollback from there, it'd be good to know what those numbers would look like and not just be more abstract and say X when growth maybe
Right.
exceeds our expectations or
Right.
doesn't exceed our expectations, and we're having to redo all of that already.
Yeah.
I wish that, gosh, that really makes it problematic that that's July.
It is July 1, and then we have 35 days to announce it.
It was very,
Yeah, that's problematic for budget process.
Do we have any idea from
That's how
Mark's
they do it.
office if they're expecting an increase if we stay at the current millage? We may not have the rollback rate, but do they give us any indication on what our expected collections would be?
We haven't heard back from them yet.
we're waiting to hear.
Okay. So how do we feel about asking staff if you'll indulge me at a 4.21, a rollback and a current to start with? Because here's the reality. We have several $1 million sitting in our general fund
Right.
reserves.
So we reduced it
mean-
from 4.59 to 4.21,
Yeah,
then everybody work to that. This is where you're gonna work to.
And I think Brian makes a good point about if you look at what's the lowest, I guess the question I'm asking really is, what might be the lowest? I'm putting 4.21 out there. And what might be the
The
highest?
highest.
And then there's something in the middle.
In the middle.
I do think a rollback is an important legal question of what might could be. And I think current is an important legal question of what might could be.
Yeah, I don't know that I am tied to an idea of a specific number. I like the idea of current millage rollback rate. Because those are talked about every year.
Right.
Those two numbers are always talked about, regardless of what they are. Because they have significance, right? It's what we
Exactly.
charged last year and what we would charge this year to capture the same amount of money. And so regardless of what those numbers are, they have meaning. And so,
Is that yours?
Why?
outside of that though, to just pull a number, and I understand where you're getting the number, so I'm not saying that you're
Yeah,
making up the number.
That's okay.
But to say arbitrarily, I want to be at that number, I don't have a need to prioritize that from a council prioritization. I think that's an individual prioritization. If the city manager presents a budget to me that says, council, I've delivered you a budget that meets the priorities that you've established at a
Earn rate.
4.21 or 4.29 or
Right.
whatever the number is. I would much rather give the city manager that ability to do that, knowing that we really are interested in not potentially exceeding from a philosophical standpoint where the millage rate was last year, or potentially where the rollback rate would be this year based off of numbers. But I don't necessarily have a need to go with a specific number outside of those at this point.
And for clarification, because I don't know that we've ever talked about it, is one of the things that has substantially changed for Clermontians over the last 6 years has been the average cost of running our government per individual. And that number has doubled in the last 6 years. So inflation's gone up a certain amount, and that is a real thing. But that's what I look at, is say, okay, as I live here and I'm dealing with more traffic, you know, there should be an efficiency in the growth that we have. So as a citizen, the cost per citizen, since we're growing, the benefit of the growth should at least correspond to the cost of the growth. And right now, the folks who have been here for a longer period of time are bearing the cost of the new development and the new construction in an increased per individual cost of living. And so that's where I'm coming from. So perhaps we could approach it like having staff look at, you know, what was the cost of living in 2021 so that we're getting post-COVID and we're not dealing with the huge inflation of COVID, and how close can we get with the inflationary costs to the 2021 numbers, whatever that is. And if it's not 4.21, it's not 4.21. But that's really what's driving my desire to drive it back, is that fact that it's costing more for people who when you talk to them, would say, well, I had quiet enjoyment of my city, and now I have to share it. Joe, don't get mad at me. I have to share it with all these new people, right? I can't see your face, so I can't tell. But, you know, we want to bring in new people,
Right.
but collectively, that should be a better financial arrangement for all of us,
Yeah.
not costing
But
more
the
per
oth-
person.
But the other side to that, though, is that stuff goes up.
That's why I say,
Yeah,
looking at
you know,
inflation, so if we
gas
take
is
that
up.
number,
You
and
know,
we look
your
at what the
utility
inflationary-
costs, your food, all of that, that has nothing to do with the citizens that live here.
but it's not double. And that's where I'm coming back and saying, you know, I'm just trying to make it so that we somewhat, I personally feel like we went sideways. And I'm bringing that to the table. I get that. And maybe it's irrational, it could be emotional, but I feel like we got sideways in 2022. And that's absolutely something that's important to me. And to your point, Brian, I mean, if Rick can bring it back and it's lower, I appreciate that, that sentiment. But I stood at the podium in 22 and as a citizen asked our council at the time to please provide a budget that would show what those cuts would be to keep things as they were.
Right.
And I was told by the city manager at the time, well, I serve at the pleasure of the council. And I asked those council members to please ask for that budget, and they didn't. And so I'm putting myself back where I was as a citizen and saying, what would I want?
Right.
And as a citizen, I just want to go through the exercise. And if it turns out that we're cutting too much, I mean, I have to live with that as a representative, but also I think it's something that I feel I owe to the people.
Yeah, I think that looking at it, I kind of keep go back to the analogy of like a puzzle, of putting things together and moving some things and hearing what a complete puzzle looks like, or a picture, because that's what the puzzle puts together, right? A picture of what, utilize procurement for a department. This is what the procurement department picture looks like for the next fiscal year, right? And this is why they proposed that. This is what goals this budget's going to allow it to accomplish based off of guidance from city manager, based off guidance from council. And maybe there's some new things. Maybe that's some stuff that we haven't done before that Mr. Suarez says, hey, based off all these conversations, I think we should do this because it's going to improve. It's going to be a one-time upfront cost. We may say, great, keep it in there. But we also need to keep in line with kind of where we were numbers-wise last year. So are there other areas that we might be able to shift around or move around? Take this piece and move it here, this piece over to here, that would allow us to do that and still be at a level that's acceptable. Or if not, then we have to then make that decision with that department. We're good with where it is, and we know overall the running list of what's adding to the millage difference from last year to this year. We may have to make some adjustments elsewhere to compensate for that, and that's that bigger piece over here.
When you say that, it makes me think, okay, staff's looking for direction, which is the purpose of this meeting. One thing that I've thought several times as I sit up on the dais is, it's 2026, and there's now this thing called AI that I'm never gonna learn. I just want to put that out there.
Don't
But
say that, you would.
there is, well, you're right, I might have to teach my kids and then I'll have to learn it. But there's all this new technology that in theory could automate many of our processes. And that can sound, for anyone who might panic, that can sound like, oh, cut positions. But I think we're growing so much that AI and technology has the potential to actually keep us from not having to cut positions, but not necessarily having to add positions. And so, because we are growing and we are going to need, we're 26 square miles with more downtowns coming. I mean, there's going to be more to do. So
To that point, I think, like for AI, if we can utilize AI in a way that's not a frontline
sure.
person, but I'm going on the website, how do I apply for a building permit? How do I,
Yes.
I'm pulling a tree out, what do I do in city of Clermont? And it synthesizes that data, rather than having to call talk to someone, get that information, get a call back. I think that's where we could
use
right
that,
now
yeah.
today start to utilize some of that technology. But it's gonna be some upfront cost, right? But that's a great example of how we could utilize AI in our work that would improve communication,
Yep.
which I think
the
is one of the
things I
items,
learned
right?
about education.
But also, help our departments
Sure.
and maintain our staff so that they're not spending so much time doing
Handling
those types
that.
of things and
Yeah.
actually actually getting to
To the
work,
job, yeah.
to their job.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, because we're 3 months out, I know I'm overwhelmed with technology and AI, and so I'm gonna put my junk on staff on this one. Can we maybe send the message today that, hey, we would love to see some tech solutions that help us be more efficient, and that we would like to see that as part of the 27 budget?
I would definitely, as a philosophical
Yeah.
approach to the budget, absolutely stress tech solutions and
Yeah.
Learning
advancements.
You're
Yeah,
doing that,
yeah.
So, because that will help us keep the millage down.
Collaboration even, if there's collaborative efforts that could be done in those solutions too.
So I like that. Also, one of the big issues has been, as I was going through this process with Scott last year, the cost of our healthcare for employees is one of our single most detrimental to a growing budget line items. In other words, if we don't get our medical cost per employee to stop growing as fast as it's growing, because it's in the 20 to 30% range on a normal year, we can't keep up with that with a mostly residential community. And even if we could keep up with it on the commercial front, it's going to be, we'd use all our money towards health
I
costs.
mean, if we reached out to Florida other cities to get their,
Oh, you had a post. I can talk about it now because we're in a public forum. I love what you put on Facebook about the different options for healthcare.
right,
I would love to see in the 27 budget some solution that gives our employees and staff, and frankly, even our citizens, small business owners, some sort of solution that lowers cost for healthcare, but also increases the care, the quality of the care. So versus, we have 2 hospitals here, we have so many different healthcare providers because of our connection with the athletics. There's like cutting edge stuff here in Clermont. So if we could help organize that, not only could our employees benefit from it, but potentially small businesses in the community could benefit from it as well.
So do you think it's realistic that we're gonna get something lower with more benefits?
I do.
because
you
I
speak
think there's
to
a lot
it?
of grant money available that we have.
You've been working on it.
I have diligently worked on it, and
Okay,
I don't have.
because I don't see it.
I don't have the golden
Okay.
key yet. I mean, but I can promise you, it's been something we've spent hours and hours and hours, HR, Scott, myself, we're looking at every option. We're talking to the hospitals, we're talking to vendors. We're doing all the due diligence, talking to our agents. I mean, I promise you, it's a priority, and I don't have the answers for you yet.
Healthcare is expensive, that's why I'm just, yeah.
And I think, gosh, if that rises after the kind of the evaluation process,
Right.
I think that would be an incredible example of a strategic directive and expectation for the city manager moving into the next calendar year of saying, okay, this is a top priority. Is exploring the healthcare provided to our employees and what are our options, not just current existing, but also looking at new solutions or new ideas that might be available, and bring that back to us by, we put a date in there, right? And
Yeah.
he's already got a jump start on it, if that's a goal that we put together in the process. We have that come back, and it may honestly be that they say, look, we have shaken every bush,
tree.
right?
We shook every
And
tree.
this is what we have available to us. This is just truly what we have available to us, given where we are right now. And we know that then.
Yeah.
And we have to plan for that, and we have to address that. But it may be, okay, council, we have some, hold on to your chairs, some ideas of like how we could be maybe a little radical or a little innovative in this way that, okay, we're gonna listen, we're gonna talk about that. But I don't know how where I get a little uncomfortable saying for a priority for this budget is the effect right now without engaging our personnel, I'm very concerned about. And I want to make sure that we have a process by which our represented and non-represented employees are engaged and involved in this conversation and process.
That's appropriate.
We made some changes to our plan with our employees to actually lower things
Right.
Okay.
than they were gonna be, and Nadine can speak to what we're doing, but she's made every effort.
So last year, we came to council in September, and we requested to unbundle the health plan, if you recall, and we moved away from Cigna. We shopped the TPA, and we moved to United. We separated the pharmacy benefit manager, and we also separated the stop loss. So altogether, we estimate an approximate $499,000 of savings with
Excellent.
these changes. And for this plan year, we were able to lower employee premiums by 1% and city premiums by 5%. So
Great.
we were able to
Yeah.
lower costs
That's great.
from that change. And we're continuing to look at
That's
other ways
excellent.
to lower costs.
Because that was the one thing that, you know, as I was going through it last year with Scott, it was like, we narrowed it down. We're like, of all the choices that all can be made, like, this is the thing that is growing so fast. What I don't want to do is not have healthcare. I don't want to pay, because we're still paying what those of us who don't have health insurance would say is a great amount of money. And so to pay that much money and not be able to get care, that's not good. That, you know, that's not a good outcome either. It's not just about saving money. They need to be getting the care.
I was just about to ask, so Nadine, with the change, how has the response been? Do the employees like the change that you have implemented with the healthcare?
There's been a little bit of noise, as with many things. We were Cigna since 2010, so it was
Okay.
a significant change.
Yeah, that's a big
Moving
change.
away from Cigna. So there, you know, I think overall, the change has gone well, the implementation's gone well.
Okay.
We have had employees come to us with concerns that we've handled individually on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
But I did want to point out one thing is, when we look at the costs of the plan over the last 5 years, the average increase has been 4%, which is much better than the national trend, which is around 10%. So our plan is being managed well, and the plan is doing well.
That's
Um,
awesome.
Yeah, so this is a hold on to your chairs kind of statement that I'm gonna make is, I don't have insurance. I've not had insurance most of my adult life. And I pay, we call it cash, you know, credit card, check, whatever. The biggest fear that I have for myself and my family is obviously an emergency situation. That there's no doubt about that. But on the day-to-day, the cost of insurance compared to me being able to choose my doctor, go where I want to go, get whatever service I want, go to whatever specialist I want, it's not even comparable. I mean, there's literally no comparison to what I pay on a year to what I would have paid for insurance. So my approach has always been, well, I'm self-insuring, but, you know, I'm just putting that money away, and that takes extraordinary responsibility. But what would be helpful is if there was some sort of catastrophic plan that I could pay into. So I'm coming at this as someone who doesn't have insurance, but who feels very strongly that she has extraordinary health care. I can see any doctor I want, whenever I want. And I don't have those restrictions of, well, I'm not in this plan, or I'm not in that plan, or that doctor's not in my network. I can shop it around. I can do alternative medicine versus modern medicine. And to me, that's akin to what I would like for all residents, all Americans, but, you know, especially in our community, to be able to choose their care, what they need for them. And I'm not suggesting that we go to a cash basis, but I am saying there are completely, as I spoke to the CEO of Advent Health, and she's like, so you want to turn medical, you know, care on its head? And I said, well, yeah, I do. I think it's a broken system. So, yeah, I do. And I think that Clermont is big enough, strong enough, healthy enough to be able to set a really interesting example. And so, yes, I would love to have council support to direct staff to look for innovative solutions in healthcare so that our employees have better care. My daughter's in the Clermont system. She had a torn rotator cuff and she couldn't get the care that I was able to pay for her. It wasn't in the plan, because it was not your typical treatment. And it was not even experimental, but it wasn't in the plan. And so I paid for it through my company, cash system, and she got it and it worked and it was great. So I would love for our employees to be empowered to be able to make their own choices for their care. And for what we pay, I think they should be able to. And it's not a knock on you, you're in the system that you're in. But I think that with Advent and Orlando Health right here, that there's a lot of things that could be done. And if we can direct staff to be innovative this year with technology, one, if we don't have to add a lot of new employees, that helps keep that cost down because we're not adding those employees with the healthcare, right? And then two, if we can approach the healthcare, like I said, I think it could be something that once that plan is in place for 400 employees,
Right.
it creates an opportunity for small businesses like mine, we could tap into it. And that would encourage small businesses to want to be in Clermont, because if you're in Clermont and you have access to this plan, it might mean the difference in you setting up shop in Lake County versus setting up shop in Clermont, because you now have access to this new plan. And that goes back to, who am I trying to serve? Families, kids with broken bones, and, small businesses. So how do we feel about that? Do we like that direction?
I think you need to investigate it and show them, in other words, it's like an alternate plan that's
Right.
not the normal plan. It's not like United Healthcare.
Right,
So you have, it's like, you probably heard about like the Trump RX plan. That's like a PBM type of thing where they have 1,000 drug formulary. Everyone is $5 a month. But if you fall out of that, then what do you do?
right.
And that's the problem that I think we're going off on a real
Yeah.
far tangent right now, but I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think
and-
there's something to investigate.
And I think that for me, moving into the next budget, to bring it back to
Yeah.
next year's budget, if nationally it's a 10% on average, and we're still in that 4% range, I'm okay with that, given that that's a incredible feather in the cap that we can say based even off of working in the existing system. And then if we create that priority for the city manager to say, okay, as the leader of the city, for our city employees and for our city, what other alternative option might be available for a system that could be created, that could work for these things, that would be innovative and might turn some things on the head, but not diminish, rather improve service.
So I'm hearing that we're open to creative solutions as we're growing that would serve the citizens, even if they're not in the ordinary way we always do things.
Yes.
Sandra, Brian?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay. Great, cool, thank you. Thanks for the
I
update.
want to let you know, I really appreciate Nadine's diligence
yeah.
on this.
Yes.
We're looking at things right now that we've not mentioned also.
Okay.
So we'll keep going.
You keep going.
And I want to add, the employees of the city were great with their openness to make a change.
Okay.
Because they recognize we're trying to have a balanced budget. So I appreciated all the employees and their willingness to make a change this past year.
I just don't want it to be lost that when I say these things, I'm also looking for a better care.
Yeah.
It's not
I
just
don't
about the
hear you
dollars.
say get rid of it.
Okay.
I don't
okay.
hear that. I hear you say what options are out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, so what do you want to approach next?
Can we just talk a little bit about walkability and golf cart paths, multimodal? I think where that may come into a philosophical conversation or direction for next year's budget is that if the consensus of the council is we want sidewalks for folks to be able to walk when they want to choose to walk and not have as many dead ends. We want streets that we build new or repair to provide lanes for multimodal.
Yes.
maybe that's the priority that we put forward to Public Works and to the city manager, that we would like to see whatever projects are coming forward to
Yes.
include those things.
I love that idea.
And/or create a longer-term plan, kind of like a capital plan, that would expand or include those things moving forward yearly. I certainly would be in favor of moving in that direction with a philosophy, with walkability, sidewalks specifically, and paths, multimodal paths on our roadways.
I think related to that is the issue of shade and also.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And also, where are they going? Like, where are
Yeah,
people
that-
going?
I was just about to say that, because this is, it's hot now.
It's hot, we're a very spread
gonna
out
get
city.
hotter.
So I believe this is 100% part of the comprehensive plan and identifying where would people be going? If all roads lead to Rome, okay, what might be there along the way and how might that work? So that's probably for the comprehensive planning team, is my guess. Nathan? Yeah.
Probably.
So,
Yeah.
does anybody have a problem with creating multimodal?
Well, you already, by
I
the
think
way, I
that-
mean, you already have sidewalks mentioned
just about
8
to say.
times in your comp plan.
Okay.
And it says multimodal a bunch of times as well.
So
Good.
that's
It's a
covered.
part of
So-
your
so
comp
it's-
plan.
It's covered.
So
Well-
the issue is, how are you doing it with your budget?
I was gonna say, so I
Yeah, we're
think,
not
I think
executing.
what we're saying then is we need to say as a priority, okay, city manager, we wanna see this as a priority with these budget lines that are associated with walkability and multimodal opportunities for this year and in future years, creating a plan to move forward with that.
Right, one of the issues, we came up with a golf cart ordinance and everything, but we never came up with a plan, well, where are they gonna ride their golf carts?
Right.
So, like you said, I mean, maybe we should make it a priority for all new road investments, that there's a golf cart lane on that, so this way they could utilize the golf cart. Because, remember, I think the last discussion, there was only like 10 people, because there's no place to take them. There's no
Well-
golf cart parking. It has to be like planned ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing is, they only can drive them on certain roads, because they only. can go
Right,
certain
right, but in
speed
town, I
limits,
would,
so-
as the lumberyard project gets completed more, it's gonna be more people going into these. And, you don't have to have all that traffic if people have golf carts, but they have to have a place to drive them, a place to park them.
Yep.
And,
Same
can't
thing with
just,
bikes.
right, same thing, they have, if we have parking spots, maybe they have to do a thing where they take a single parking spot and make that into 3 golf cart spots.
It's true in the villages, they have a parking ratio
Yes, they
with
do.
the regulations.
Right, so you could use, but we have to become, it's nice to pass an ordinance, but it's like, okay, you
Gotta be
can have a plane, but there is no runway.
Right, exactly.
So you can have it, have a good
Yeah.
time with it,
Yeah.
but we're not gonna ever build a runway.
Right.
But
So
yeah.
we have to do that, I think.
Yeah, and I think Winter Park, maybe it has a map on their city website that like has all the streets that you
Yeah,
can
I
drive
mean,
on
it could be
a.
something
Winter
that we
Park
could
do
get
that.
Or
involved
Winter
with.
Garden,
We
but
could show the
yeah.
lanes that are available and have little, in
We could do
town,
that too,
little
like,
map.
have the map.
You go
so
to
people
Cheezer's,
know.
you get the map
Yeah.
there of all the golf cart lanes.
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing is we're, without question, on board with the concept. What we don't know is how to execute it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would like to see more of that come to us in maybe the Public Works presentation at the budget, is how do we make this a reality?
Yeah, and I don't know that necessarily it's up to us specifically to execute it. It's
Right.
up to us to approve it
And then, and then let them
go
market-
forth.
Yes, exactly. So what do we need? And if Stoney wants to jump in, my understanding is until last year, we as a council, I'm taking credit for things I didn't do, I'll just put that out there. We had been kind of taking from Public Works for different department projects. And now we're not doing that anymore.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So we've got a wild hair. What are you hearing and how does it feel to you?
I think it's a great idea. The implementation is gonna be tough, though.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And that's where staff will need direction, myself, is how would you like to implement it? Looking at the map up here, we're talking about the west side of town.
Yeah.
So you got 60-foot right-of-ways, so that only leaves you 16 to 18 foot behind curb after asphalt, with 12 or 10-foot drive lanes. So to get that, we're gonna go to one lane, one-way traffic.
Oh, no. Okay.
to get all that in that right of way is a challenge.
So my knee-jerk reaction to the question, which probably isn't the right one, is in the comprehensive plan, DPZ had been looking at different areas where there would be potentially town centers or neighborhood centers. And it's kind of like the public transportation conversation. Doesn't do you any good to have a bus if you don't have a way to walk when you get off the bus, right? So if we look at where these town centers might be, I would suggest perhaps that the roads that lead to Rome, each one of those be the Rome, and we're stemming out. And I think in a perfect world, ultimately connecting them all so that you can get around the whole city. I mean, there are people in this city who ride bikes for 100 miles at a time. I am not one of them, but I know they exist. And so there are people who are gonna go, it's no big deal, I can drive down to Well this way, and I'm going, okay, have fun. I'm not that person, but I'll just stay close to my home. But I think it's a neat thing
Right.
that we
I think
have.
that was innovative when you said, one way. I mean, being from New York, and you go, one way is a normal thing. That you would know that, 6th Avenue goes north-south, so you would know. And maybe that's a way that we could become innovative then to produce the product that we want to get with multimodal, right?
And I
Yeah,
think
places.
I'm sorry.
I mean, people would be reactive in the beginning. What do you mean there's only, well, yeah, you gotta go down Montrose.
Well, but I think
I don't know, that was a great thing.
yeah, to that point, I mean, if Public Works, the expert, right,
Right.
is saying to us, we can implement a plan in this quadrant that does this, but this is what we're working with, so this is what that plan would look like.
Right.
And I think then present that to us, we have to hash it out, kind of talk about whether we like it, don't like it, get citizen and resident feedback, business feedback, and then ultimately we say, go forth or don't go forth. But and it may not look the same throughout the entire city, because our city, depending upon which quadrant you go to, the age of that quadrant really is very different in terms of when it developed. And so we might have more flexibilities in some areas that we don't in others. That if we start with one area and that's our plan, and we really say we're gonna be a robust implementation of this and be a part of it, present to us what that would take.
Right.
And let's see where that sits with folks. And if it doesn't resonate, then we know.
Yeah.
Or if it's just like you were saying, Councilmember Peterson, about the initial kind of, but then it's like, okay, wait a second, let me think about this. I do want to ride my bike, so maybe that's not so bad. And then they kind of, they adapt with it that way.
I'll give you, for instance, what we've done is for sidewalks, is we took and looked at, we go through the school board. School board has where kids live, where they walk, where they don't walk. We took their information and we implemented getting the sidewalks to get the kids to school within that radius. So they have that safe travel. The next thing we did is how do we get people in the downtown? So we have that one area, I'll just use East and Osceola. All right, connectivity was not there. So we said, we've got to get people from here to here. So what would be nice is when they do the comp plan, is I know which areas have the big right-of-ways that you can use. Where do you want people to go to? Where are you trying to get them to?
Yeah.
So that way, we have the direction, we know what to look at when we're presenting to y'all, is this is what we're looking at and where we want people to go. Is it from downtown to the waterfront? Are we sending them all the way to the east side of the town, past 27? So we can look at all of that when we go through the exercise. But I'm sure that when DPZ does this, they'll know those areas for that walkability, the right-of-way widths, so they know how people can get point A to point B.
But let's make sure we're not assuming they know.
If they ask, I can tell. I agreed.
Yeah. So, all right, I think this is great. That was a great point, Brian. Thank you for bringing it up. Anything else on transportation that we feel? Streetlights in all sectors, I think that's probably part of just the traffic flow.
Just bring that up. What you see is our streetlight map. This is what we've created. This is not from Duke, it's not from Seco.
Okay.
You can see all the little green spots right there. Our light inventory is very good. Do we have some deficiencies in small places? Yes. But most of the deficiencies you're gonna see are on state road, county roads mainly, private subdivisions that have nothing to do with the city in particular.
Oh, I see.
They're all over here. Yeah.
Yes.
Here, I'll
They're dark.
zoom.
I see black.
Yeah.
Unless they change the map on me.
Oh, I see it now that you say that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even.
See 'em?
Oh, now you can see better,
There they
okay.
are.
Thank you.
Yeah, so transportation, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I loved when you brought up the complete street, you're like, we did this 7 years ago, do you wanna see it? Like, yes, let's see more of that.
We've got East Avenue is going to get mill and overlaid. It's coming up in June after school's out. So what we've asked our consultant to do is look at how we can restripe it. So we can add those
Oh, yeah.
features, what you're talking about right now, if we're doing on-street parking, but how do we get a bike lane in there? Now, if I'm hearing we want to get a golf cart lane in there, we'll take a look at that too, because we have a lot of asphalt there. We have the room and the right-of-way to do things there.
Legal question incoming. Can a golf cart drive on the road so long as the speed limit is within golf cart capabilities?
I mean, I think, yes. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what your question is. You're saying,
need
can
a
a golf
golf
cart
cart
drive on a
lane.
road as long as it's within the golf cart? I mean, there's different type of golf cart carts.
That's a
I thought it was 35.
That's be like a DOT.
I thought it
They
was
can't go under
35.
50 mile an hour.
No
But
more
I
than
don't-
35.
I'm
Yeah.
not going 35 with my kids in the golf
35.
cart. I mean, that's
So
just.
the golf cart goes 20, probably 25.
But I mean, like, on the road, like.
Yeah.
Posted
cars
road
can
at
only do
35 miles an
35.
hour and below.
So you couldn't have a golf cart on 27.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Well, I had a
I would
mom,
hope you wouldn't do that, but you never know.
I was talking to a mom who lives on the east side of the historic district of downtown. So I think she's technically outside of the CRA, but she's before 27.
Okay.
And she was saying she would love the golf cart, but she feels like the cars driving on the road are going too fast, and she wouldn't feel safe in a golf cart. So she's like, I'm looking forward to doing it, I just haven't, and this is my fear.
Yeah.
And so I think that when we're doing this, it's helpful to look, maybe engage as many pregnant moms as you can in the conversation, because they're actually the ones in our society that are gonna be the most fearful of safety and give you the honest feedback. Because even though we can say 35, maybe one of the things we should be considering is a lower speed limit where we're encouraging
go
the golf
35.
carts. Yeah, you know, so it's like on Lakeshore. I remember years ago, suddenly they put in, you'll remember this, sorry, I'm throwing you under the bus. They put in stop sign and took the speed, I think, from 15 to 25. And I can't not believe the intention was to discourage bicyclists.
Oh.
Because it used to be that there were cyclists all over that road because the speed limit was low and there were no stop signs. So you would just get on your bike and ride. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And so if we have designated areas for, this is a safe bike lane, this is a safe golf cart lane, and maybe that's published on a map somewhere, you know, that we know. I would love to see that kind of innovation come out of the comp plan. I don't want to go through this whole process of the comp plan and then not execute it. I think that would be the worst thing for us to do. So looking at ways to actually implement it, to your point, funding it. And maybe that means we need a certain amount of money every year for the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
But it can be part of our 5 to 10 year plan, and this is what it looks like. And then future council members know, we don't have to reinvent this wheel, it's already been decided, and it's done. You like it?
Yeah, because what I like about a plan that has numbers and
I
ideas
think the
is,
verbal helps.
Sounds
you know,
great.
if something can be expedited, you have, you know, a year where there's funds to be able to expedite it, you could, you know, roll 2 years into one. If you have a year where a pandemic hits and things,
Yeah,
you know, come to a
exactly.
screeching halt,
Yeah.
you know what that means for the overall. But I think instructing staff or directing staff, the city manager to work with staff to come up with a plan that emphasizes walkability and multimodal is the right approach.
I have residents asking me, so I'm gonna interject real quick. Is Lakeshore gonna be done when East is done over summer?
Yes,
Okay, and the reason why we haven't done it yet is because we're waiting for school to get out.
yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Anything else for Stony? Oh, what do we need to know on water sewer?
What would you like to know?
What are big projects that we should be thinking about in the next 5 to 10
We
years?
just closed on the property on the north side of town yesterday, which was great.
Wait, is
That'll
that
be-
the one by the,
Old Highway 50.
by Verde Ridge?
Yep.
We did?
So that was, we got $1 million through legislative priority to pay for that, which was great. That'll give us additional storage for reuse, reclaimed. We're looking, actually, I've reached out to City of Orlando. So then we sent them a map of some land areas we're looking into on the south quarter during the Wellness Way. They're gonna take it to their next meeting and let us know.
Why is the city of Orlando involved? Are you going to
Concert too.
concert too? Okay.
Yes, they have majority of the property. Mr. Famasi just gave me some other ideas down there with some other land we'll look into also, if that doesn't pan out, see how that works. The plant expansion is done and complete. We're modifying our consumptive use permit right now, so we'll be in good shape with that. We've got our rate study going on for all of our different utilities currently. We have the master plan we're expecting to be back in around November. So water sewer is in great shape.
Are we thinking there's a possibility that utility rates, the rate of service, not the investment piece of it, could go down?
We don't know. We'll know something next month on how it looks. We've got a meeting set up with them, and then we're gonna sit down with the city manager and the deputy city manager and go through it,
Okay,
so we can see what it looks like.
okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for Tony?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So we went over some finance, transportation, safety and health. Do we want to do that one now? EMS, 6-minute response.
Yes.
Okay. That was emphatic. You want to take the lead?
Yes, I was supposed to bring them up, yeah, for EMS, yeah. So where are we at on that?
Do we want police and fire here, or just you want to start with fire? Like, are we approaching safety
You
altogether?
can bring them up, they can all come.
Oh, you brought more paperwork than I was expecting. We can go way higher level than that.
You guys asked for data.
But I'm glad.
He's like, I'm prepared.
So, I'm glad that you want to talk about this. I'm gonna put it out there that I think we need to really have a conversation about our commitment to EMS. I don't like the longevity of this conversation. I do think we need to be diligent, but there's conflict with the county. And I want to get to a place where we can really be clear with staff. I'm not asking to make decisions today, but I am glad that we're talking about this.
Right. I was at a leadership conference and I met with the council member over in Venice,
Okay?
and it's a similar situation there. He was telling me, I don't know, have you spoken to the fire chief there in Venice?
I have.
Okay, and anyway, I have his number, I'll push it. Similar situation, their county did not want to let it go. So they had to they hired a consultant, and they pushed the issue. In the beginning, it cost them some money, like 1.5, 1.6. 5 years later, they're breaking even.
Oh, wow.
With all the cost of personnel, the additional personnel, battalion chiefs, et cetera, they have 6 ambulances there now that are doing fine. So, I mean, to me, that's like, there's a visual about somebody that, it's not like we're all by ourselves here, and how are we gonna do that? And, but we have somebody that we can go to that actually had it done, and showing the positive at the end. If it was, it cost us $10 million after 5 years, that would be a problem. But if you're breaking even, because even when they presented to us, 20% comes from MTSU, the other 80 is billing. And, I'm familiar with it because I volunteered in there in New York. So, I mean, it's billing in every aspect. You got on an ambulance, they put oxygen on you, $500. They give you an aspirin, they start a line on you, everything. But I mean, it's not that they're cheating you, but it's, it's part of the billing practice. And the person, the patient, doesn't see any of this. So it's invisible. It's not like, oh, sorry, you're going to have, you'll wait here, we're not going to take it. We're going to take care of everybody.
Right.
But I mean, I think it's something that maybe we should look into, contact them. And, somebody already invented the wheel. So we don't have to reinvent this wheel if somebody already did it, and they had a 5-year plan showing breaking even.
Well, and
Breaking
related,
even is a good thing to do.
Related-
Not making a profit, but, he's paying all your things off.
we decided last year to hold off on, to maintain our general reserve
Right.
overage because of this conversation and the potential that it could cost. And so I don't really want to do that again this year. I want to be able, in the budget process, to address our general fund
Right.
reserve overage, whatever that means, but not just keep holding it. I don't believe in taxing people and not having a plan. So I would like to see, before we come to the final vote on this year's budget, to have the EMS plan in place,
Right.
including if we decide to move forward with it, that we're maintaining in reserves what we think we need to get through 5 years, whatever it might be. But then we know what else we have to work with on other projects. Because I do think that this is a very important project. I mean, it's about saving lives.
Yes,
And I don't think it gets much, other than water and sewer, I don't think it gets much more
Right.
important.
go ahead.
If I remember correctly, was it our last workshop?
Right.
We had the chief here.
Yep.
I believe was that March or was that April?
I think it was April.
We'll say April.
Ah.
Was it April?
I
Yeah.
think.
And
Go ahead.
because I think we were originally going to have on an upcoming agenda authorization.
Them to send a letter out.
So but through that conversation, we had a pretty lengthy, I think, list and compiled all kinds of data that we would like before we even get to that point.
Exactly.
Do we know, A, when we're getting that? And B, will we be voting on authorization to move forward prior to the budget process starting?
Okay. You want to answer his question for
Yeah.
data?
So as far as the questions and some of the feedback and the information you guys requested from us in April, I spent about, 60 hours over the past 2.5 weeks putting together not only a PowerPoint to allow you to understand why we're doing this, and I just want to address you all. I have done this before. I come from South Florida. I came from a department that was taken over by the county and fought them tooth and nail and ended up taking transport back. It is very possible. I do not agree, unfortunately, with what you're saying where it's going to be a complete wash. I've never seen that in all my time, and I've been around the service for 25 years. I would consider myself a subject matter expert. That being said, that doesn't mean that we won't be self-sufficient in terms of our monies in-house. What, I know Mayor Murray made a comment the last meeting we were in here about people getting double charged. Unfortunately, we're being double charged already as a community. We pay for overage of 40% of the county's total income that they take in between MSTU monies and our repayment. We're the #1 repayment in Lake County. We officially prop up the rest of the service. We are the economic engine that moves this boat. We only use less than 14% of the services, including the vast array of the county's resources that Chief Gilbury likes to tell us about. We don't use them as much as they use us. That being said, there are many different variables, and we've come up with 3 or 4 in the past 2 weeks to show you different variables on that. As far as you go, if you want, I can start answering the questions you guys had immediately. We can go through that.
I don't want to put you on the spot to do that today.
Well,
I
I
wasn't
can do-
expecting you to
well,
be
yeah,
prepared to
so
do that
provide you-
today.
He's got
Yeah,
packets.
so can I go back to I'm sorry,
Yeah.
can I go back to my question? Because I thought we were getting a report.
I have a report.
Okay, so I would like, my preference would be to have that report before we ever start talking about that report. Because I'd like to, I can't talk about a report and read it and listen at the same time.
I just think that you'll have questions on things that I'll be giving you that you
Oh,
won't understand off the.
Absolutely, and I would hope that we would have a presentation on that to the
Do anything
council.
you guys would like.
For that. But, so, it sounds like,
You're
is that the
ready.
packet of
You sound like he's
information we've
ready.
requested?
So they have the information.
I would like to hear it.
I didn't schedule this discussion until June.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
So, and that's just a discussion to decide if you want to go and ask the county
right.
if you want to do that or not. But they have gathered this data already for us.
Which meeting in June are you expecting?
The June.
First or second?
June 9th.
So the
Maybe the
first
first
meeting
year.
in June. So I'm with Councilmember Bain. I look forward to asking all the questions and seeing the whole presentation. And kudos to you for being ready today. That's fantastic. Have you seen the presentation?
No.
I would
So,
like.
I was gonna say, that would be my suggestion, is that if council is okay, give us direction so we can get with the city manager, deputy city manager,
I'd
and
like
the city attorney, present this, and have that discussion.
It's all in-house, we haven't done anything yet. We're
Right.
looking for some direction.
Right, I think that's what we kind of said, give us these data points, information, et cetera, and then,
Is there something specific you're looking for? Is it the Times itself, or are you looking for financials, or are you looking for everything?
well, I would just go back to what was said at the, I guess, at the workshop. And I'm pretty sure, there was an extensive bullet point list that was prepared for
She's been
staff.
working on that.
Okay.
And my understanding is it's completed,
Okay,
all that data that he has.
So where I'm looking at this is there, all signs point to this is a conflict with the county. That's as I understand it. My duty is to the citizens of Clermont. And so that's, but I want to make sure that if this is a conflict with the county, we have dotted all our i's, crossed all our t's. And then from the financial perspective, I'm concerned with, you said we never break even. Does that, so the county collects an MSTU. Presumably, that MSTU is the subsidy for not breaking even. When you say we won't break even, are you including the MSTU and the collections, and then you still believe there would be overage?
No, the MSTU is not included in that. So like
Okay.
in a couple of the transport options where, like today, if you wanted to stay high level, kind of got like an option one where we're completely self-sufficient, we take over everything, we have our certificate of need, we're contracting for dispatch, medical control, everything, it's all us. And everything that we have in the current partnership we have with the county goes away. We're looking at a gross program cost of about $5.3 million, and that's across not just transport, but there's also some sunk costs into that with our existing fire apparatus that's gonna need. And with 2 units, starting with the 2 units, everything that we're proposing, the presented budget that you'll see this year, we're looking at bringing in about 1.6 in revenue, just off of what we would get on the transport and
That's
collections.
no MSTU.
And that's no MSTU. With the MSTU, so typically right now, the county is collecting about 2.9 million from the city residents. It's a $500,000. We estimate we'll probably end up being able to keep around 2.2 of that, being that the remainder of that's gonna go to the county to cover dispatch, medical control, medical supplies, and some of those other ones. So if you combine that, right now, the net program cost for year one, because there's capital and other expenditures, all in is 3.6. So 3.6 minus the 2.2, you know, there's some sunk costs there. But the recurring annual cost, and this is where the MSTU plus collections and billing, where it might break even, our recurring annual cost all in is 2.1 per year. So if you have 2.1 plus 2.2, you can see where it's pretty close. And that's only with 2 units. Now it's gonna scale. This is also estimating that our units are only running 4 calls per day. So with 4 transports per day, that's a very slow unit. These units are going to more than likely run 6 to 10 calls a
I
day.
thought we were at 10 a day.
And then, you know, if we have, instead of 2, we end up with 6 or 7, and those are all running, 4 to 6 calls becomes the break-even point for an ambulance when we collect and we factor in the MSTU. It's going to take time. There will be upfront costs, and it's, you know, like council member said, it's gonna be 5 to 6 years before we realize and see that break-even point. Initially, right off the rip, what to think about is, we're gonna put this new service in place. We're gonna get it at a discount of, you know, so we're gonna put firefighters on an ambulance, put it in a service gap for 50 to 75% discount.
Because
you
we
know,
don't have
of
to
the
put
cost.
firefighters in that space.
Correct.
And all that money is the ROI stays in-house as opposed to us essentially paying for other people.
Yeah,
So-
secondly, you're not
Now-
gonna have to send a truck out to the call too, right?
Right.
That saves a lot of money.
It's gonna depend on the nature of the call, depending, you know, for non-emergency calls, stuff to fix facilities, we would look at that, but if it's a true emergency, like a chest pain, a heart attack, we look at our effective response force,
and the number of staff we need to meet with NFPA and just national standards, we're gonna send an engine and a rescue there. Now, the rescue may get theirs quicker, it's a more agile, piece of equipment, and they can cancel the engine, or once everything's done, they'll cancel the engine goes back in service. It's able to provide coverage, but something to think about as we go into the budget process is that we're proposing 2 units. Those 2 units require 15 staff. If we were to staff Station 6 with a fire truck right away, when we look at the full-time equivalents of what we're gonna staff, we're gonna be requesting 18 personnel for that.
Right.
So that's 1 truck, 18 personnel, firefighters, officers, engineers, all the equipment. We can put 2 ambulances in service for less than the cost of 1 fire truck, and we can provide coverage to the Fire Station 6 area, and then once the Station 2 renovations are done, that's where that other ambulance can locate, and as time progresses and as the budget process progresses and as our training requirements and all the things that are required to get this new program up and operating, everything will fall into line.
And I know one of your questions was, where are we gonna put these ambulances? Because that seems to be one of the big going kerfuffles with the county, is we don't have the space right now. What we built out is a timeline that shows you exactly where we are today with each station, each housing company, total number of firefighters in each, and then as it's moving, due to construction, Station 2 being closed, moving over to temporary Station 2, then thus reopening Station 5, Station 6, moving those units back out of Station 1, we had to reassign due to construction. It has all this in here, so it's very easy to see that we will have the space for them within possibly 60 days.
And does it include McKinnon Groves and Lincoln Park?
Say that again.
Does this plan anticipate McKinnon Groves and Lincoln Park?
Not at this time, this is just for this next fiscal year. We can go and we can run models and provide those additional 2 spots. That would probably be the second year of that program of like Rescue 3 and
Yes.
Rescue 4.
I'm very interested in the 5-year period, so it seems like that's a relevant period from what Mr. Peterson heard, but also leaving the next council with clear direction on, so they don't necessarily feel like they have to make all these decisions and do all this work. Like it's already been decided. So we know McKinnon is coming online. We know Mineola is moving out of Lincoln Park. What will that do? How do we want to handle that? I'd like to see that those are addressed as well. And like I said, when you feel like you have it complete, I really would like Christian to get eyes on it to make sure that, because we're anticipating an argument over this, I just want to make sure legally we're looking at making sure we've checked all the boxes.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm gonna suggest, after Christian looks at it, giving you all the data, and then we'll let them do a presentation the first time in June, and maybe the next meeting, if we wanna move forward, we'll put in there
To vote on it.
to vote on it. But that way, I think it's too much probably to digest in one setting.
Can I suggest that if we're gonna do it at a council meeting, it be at the end of the council meeting, so that we're not holding up the other council activities?
The presentation?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Because I
okay.
think it'll take a while.
I'd be fine with the presentation at the end of the meeting.
Is that how you guys want me to do it? Scheduling it,
I would like,
two different meetings like that?
Yeah, well, especially when we put it at the end. I
or a
would say,
workshop,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think it
And I was gonna-
warrants
well,
discussion.
yeah, well, actually, to your point, maybe ask the city attorney, could we not have the regular council meeting adjourn and then go into a workshop just for the presentation that evening?
You could.
Either way, I guess it's
You
horse
have that
apiece.
flexibility.
It's a horse apiece. It really doesn't matter if we do it
Yes.
at the end of the council meeting versus, yeah. Horse apiece?
I've never heard that.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe it's an upper Midwest thing.
I've never heard it either, but I'm intrigued.
Really? No one else has ever heard
A
that?
horse apiece.
No, what is the
I've heard
word?
six
horse
and
apiece?
half a dozen
horse
together,
apiece?
but is that the same concept?
What is that
It's,
expression?
oh man, my family's gonna give me so much grief over
Like
this.
it's the same either way?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a
Both
horse
of them are
apiece.
horses.
Oh, I've never
Is it
heard
related
that.
to actual horses, or is
I
it
don't know where the
coined?
origin is. It's just an expression I have always, my
Okay.
family's always
But
said.
yeah, to me it is. I mean, I think the only thing about if you choose to notice it as a workshop, of course, is you're purposefully restraining yourselves on what you can do.
Right, you can't vote on it.
Correct.
Well, I don't
So
think we
it better
want,
be-
yeah, I wouldn't wanna
presented
vote on
and-
it. I guess,
digest
based off what the
it.
city manager's kind of proposing as a plan, I like the idea of having it at the 9th for the presentation, whether it's at the end of the regular meeting or we adjourn and actually hold a workshop, and then we, at the second meeting in June, have the actual item on the agenda.
Is there any scenario, I think it's a horse apiece. But in case it's not, is there any scenario where we might want to give direction that requires formal? Because I'm with you. I would not, just so you all know, when we do this presentation, I am gonna wanna let this simmer, let the public see it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wanna ask questions. I'm gonna wanna let it digest. I'm probably gonna follow up and ask more questions. So, shocker to everybody. So I don't see me wanting to take a vote, but is there any action that we might want to take that would require us to be in a meeting?
I think what we have to do is they have to present the letter to the Lake County, and that's what we have to vote on, that
Right.
they can send a letter out. Sending a letter out isn't really, that's like step number one.
Right.
Then if they reject it, then we'd have to litigate it, correct?
Oh,
No. I mean, it's a decision, it's a policy decision that you can make. You don't have to litigate anything.
oh.
No one's forcing us into a nuclear war, you know, but it's an option. I mean, it's something that, the reason why the hearing is held is, you know, a city that's applying for the certificate presents the evidence.
Right.
Says, this is why I need this.
Right.
And it is conceivable that everything on the record shows there's a need. There's nothing on the other side, so then you might have to take action. I mean, it's an option.
Right, okay.
This is where I think maybe my preference of having the actual workshop, because we give consensus at workshop.
Yeah.
Having it done in a workshop format, presentation by CFD, all the data, going over what you've given us, answering questions, providing additional data and details, and then also even having the city attorney talk about, okay, on the next agenda, there's gonna be this resolution. This is what this resolution is going to ask you to do. This is the steps that if you approve it, this is what it means. If you vote it down, this is what it means. If it gets approved and it goes to the county and gets voted down, this is what it means. Like, walk us through all those things so that we have a clear picture going into then that next meeting of, this is what we're actually voting on. This is the information that we have. We've digested it now for another 2 weeks.
Right.
What are additional follow-up questions or information we might have for staff? And then we actually take whatever action we take.
Is there any workshop prior to the June meeting? We don't have one.
One thing we got, I mean, how many calls do we get, let's say, per month? 4,000 or something like that?
No, per month.
EMS or fire or both?
Well,
We're at
the
9,100 for
huge
the
percentage
year.
is EMS.
We're at 9,200 for the year,
Yeah.
last year.
And
And it fluctuates
And out of
between
9,200,
150
how much
to
was
200
EMS?
a week.
It's about 82% EMS.
Okay, so 82%, so it's a lot of EMS.
We're already
Wow.
taking EMS. The only-
Yeah, I wanna
And
say-
what
I
percentage
wanna
of those
say
require transport?
Last year was
It's
about
usually about 60
5,000.
to 65% of national average.
Do we not know what the average is?
I could find out in 10 seconds if I had access to my files. I don't have them.
I like the idea of the workshop. I don't know if we need to, you know, in the meeting, I don't know
whatever,
if it
yeah.
matters, but I like the idea of you having your laptop.
Oh, do you? Ms. Strange.
So the transport, we had about 5,600 transports last year out of all of those calls.
Right,
So,
60%.
you know, the numbers are there, you know, and then again, you divide that by 6 ambulances, you're running into that 3 to 4 transport, maybe a little bit more, just depending on where that truck is per day. If we were completely self-sufficient, it's just gonna take time to get there.
Yeah, this is gonna be a staged program, no matter what.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm excited to see it. I know.
Can I ask
Sean
you a
was like, "Let's do it
philosophical
now."
question for the city manager, and maybe for the chiefs? Is the budget that you're planning to present for next year including an EMS program?
Yes.
Is that kind of the expectation going into it? So we know that,
Yes.
depending upon that vote, ultimately would be kind of, there'd still be some additional direction at that point, right? If it fails or passes, it gives you either assurance that yes, still present, or okay, we've got to rework that presentation at that point. I
Yes,
just
and
want
we
to
have
make
it
sure.
broken out as a separate department within our department.
Department within the
So
department.
we've got like the
Okay.
general fire department, we've got our fire inspections
Yep.
division, now we've got the EMS transport budget. So you'll see 3 different budgets presented, one with general
Okay.
fire, one with.
That's where I was at, yeah.
And
That's what
understand that
helped me
there
understand
is a little bit of
philosophically
bleed
where it's
over
coming.
depending on which direction we go, and how independent we choose to be, or how much of a partnership we have with the county. Yes, I can. So the Safer Grant from FEMA opened, the application window opened yesterday. Notice of funding, we have until the 22nd to apply. Also coinciding with that is the Assistance of Firefighters Grant, which is the AFG grant. We were both successful last year in getting an AFG grant for some cancer prevention equipment, and then the Safer Grant for Fire Station 5. Our recommendation, and we're seeking consensus, I know it's kind of an off-topic thing, is to apply for the Safer Grant this year for staffing for Fire Station 6, which would be 18 personnel, and then use the AFG grant as an opportunity. We can use that to purchase a fire engine or ask for the purchase of a fire engine to essentially say, hey, let's fund these 2 things with all the projects we're working on with the rescues and getting them housed and everything else. It looks like our funding is pretty tight. So it'd be our recommendation to seek consensus to apply for those grants. We wouldn't know, we may or may not know before October 1 what the approval is for those.
Is there any reason why you would not apply for that grant?
There is a financial commitment, just like our other Safer
Oh.
grant. You know, there is a match on the AFG. There's a 10% match for the fire truck. So at $1.3 million, you know, that's a $130,000 commitment, plus, you know, plus some of the equipment. And then with the Safer Grant, we're looking at 18 personnel, so you've got that staffing number, and that's 75% covered in years 1 and 2. So there's a 25%, but that doesn't cover the training, the uniforms, the equipment. So it'd pretty much be a rinse and repeat of what we did this year. And then year 3 would be 50%, and then after that, you know, that's staffing that we're gonna have to cover in perpetuity.
But if you're doing it anyway, there's no reason not to apply for those grants.
Essentially, yes.
Because we can not move forward.
We cannot move forward, like if something changes, circumstances changes, we can always not accept. We had to
Like I
bring it-
said, we vote to accept.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah, we're not on the
So-
hook unless we, unless
right,
you all.
right, yeah.
Definitely.
Application, I always
Apply
support
for all the
application.
grants you can apply for.
Yeah, that's my viewpoint. Get
Yes.
as much free money as you can get.
That's what we thought. We just wanted to bring it up to you guys.
No, that's good. Any other thing else for fire?
Is there any other data points that you guys can think off the top of your head? Since we're gonna be adding some additional stuff before we do, is there anything else that you guys would like to see?
I think there was so much that we
I
covered
think-
in that workshop. There was a pretty
I think-
extensive bullet point
I
list.
think-
If that's
I
been
think
shared
they're
with
pretty
chief or
good.
you guys,
It was.
then,
And I
yeah.
have that, and that, these are the 2 that answer those specific questions. But again, if you guys have, if anybody in this room has more questions, or a point to bring up, or a thought that Chief Kessler and I have not thought of, please send them over, because we would love to be able to answer everything fully one time, so we have a good basis of information for y'all.
So the thoughts that I have related to this are, let's make sure, as we're going through this, especially because you've already done the work, that police knows what you're doing, Public Works knows what you're doing, Economic Development knows what you're doing or what you're looking at, because where the new town centers might end up might influence your statement, or, you know, maybe we could include a police substation with some of the new fire stations, and, you know, Christians.
Start reading.
It's Christmas. You know, so let's just make sure that we're not operating in silos, I guess is the only thing I would say, once you feel like you have a plan. Great. Education is
I was
the
gonna
next
say,
one.
yeah.
that-
About to
Oh,
say
wait, are
library.
we gonna talk with PD?
Oh, do we want to? Are they safety?
I mean, they're here.
Yeah, they-
I didn't see them, I thought they were coming up. Sorry, that was a joke,
Thank
it was
you.
a bad one. No, thank you for reminding me.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for your hard work.
Are we open to
Yeah.
start question?
Oh, yeah, everybody ready? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my list.
You're good. I'm curious as to staffing with police and fire, growing, maturing city. what is the philosophy going into this budget cycle of staffing, not only for sworn, but also now that council has authorized the start of a more robust non-sworn through the CSO program, Community Service Officer program? What are we looking at potentially philosophically moving into this budget year?
I could tell you, today, right now, we sit with 4 sworn vacancies. We have 13 applications for the CSO program as we sit today. What I'm looking at next year is 2 additional police officers, 1 additional CSO, and then 2 professional staff, so a communications coordinator and an additional records specialist. That's my staffing request for next year. I think when I went through the presentation at the last council meeting, I kind of went over the math kind of quickly. It was about a 1,600 resident increase per year over those 5 years. So in my mind, that 2 police officers per 1,000, a CSO makes up the 600. That's the philosophy I use towards that.
How do you request that we approach any unfilled positions at the end of the year, recognizing that it takes time to bring on someone new?
So I don't anticipate us going into October with any unfilled.
Okay.
I think we'll be okay.
That will be new.
That'd be really nice. We had it for 2 months and then it happened, so. But I think we have a really good shot at filling them. We have plenty of time to fill them. We filled multiple cadet positions, handed out multiple conditional officers. This week, we'll be handing out conditional offers again next week. So I think filling the sworn positions will be good. You kind of have to remember too, a lot of people move in the summer, so I'm anticipating some people who may have prior law enforcement experience from some not so friendly law enforcement states will relocate to the state of Florida, and we have a good shot at getting some talent in that way.
That was easy. I mentioned it in the last, but so that I'm with council, when we talked about the additional staffing, I had asked Chief to make sure he's coordinating with the fire department so that we're getting substations wherever they need to be, you know, that kind of thing. Make sure that we're aware of what the potential town centers might be, and again, not operating a silo, but, you know, we're all working together.
Yes, ma'am.
And apparently, we need to keep Public Works in the loop on what our plans are, because
Yes.
they find money.
Yes.
So,
He's Daddy Warbucks. He has all
Yeah.
the.
Daddy Warbucks. I don't know if he heard that.
he's like, oh, he heard it. Great. Is there anything else you anticipate needing from us or requesting from us?
No, we've been able to secure a lot of grant money this year, so you're not going to see a lot of capital requests coming in through the budget this year. You're going to see us trying to do some of those projects through the grant funding. So we're looking for creative solutions to get what we need and move forward. I do have one question for you all, and that's the drone as first responder program. Comfort level, I don't need an answer today, but it's just something that we need to be thinking about. The drone as first responder program is a program where bases can be set up on different city locations, where if a call for service came in, let's say a robbery at a location, the drone would be deployed from that base. It would be able to be, the goal is to have the drone on scene within 90 seconds, and that would be able to feed into the officer's mobile data terminal or their laptop. So that's something that's on the horizon. Agencies are starting to use it. You see St. Cloud, Orlando just made a big investment into it. Something in the future to consider. It is pricey. It's not something that I'm looking at implementing in 2027, but it is something that we're looking at 28, 29.
Are they armed?
They are not armed. They are not armed. Great question, Christian. They are not armed. But it's just something that I would like
You know, like
council to.
tasers on them or anything?
No tasers, no, it's simply an eye in the sky for when the officers are responding. It gives them some situational.
Is it gonna be AI controls or human control?
They can be both.
Autonomous?
They can be deployed by GPS, or someone can fly it from the police department.
But deployed by GPS includes a person saying, go to this location.
The data is put into the drone, and the drone was then, it's connected to our CAD, or our computer-aided dispatch. So we'd know the GPS coordinates to go to and set up there. So it's not recording in flight, it's not recording people sunbathing, it's not doing any of that. It's flying directly to the location, and then giving the officers, as they respond, a bird's eye view of what's going on. It can also be used for brush fires, things like that. It's just a matter of how you want to use it within the city, if we want to use it within the city.
What is the #1 crime in Clermont right now?
Number one crime, right now I would have to say it's either a battery, we've had a lot of fights recently, or a burglary.
Are these
Fights this year.
at residences burglaries or mostly commercial?
Motor vehicles. Unlocked motor vehicles is our number one issue all the time.
Yeah.
If people lock their doors, I could get to
It
the top 10
works.
cities really quick.
Are the batteries domestic or not?
All of the above.
Both.
All of it.
All of the above. Domestic, there was a fight yesterday at Osceola and Pitt. So after school fights, individuals fighting, Fifth and Osceola was another one that we had.
Over
Batteries.
time, I'd be interested in learning more about what the patterns might be.
Mhm.
And then maybe there's something, like the drone program, I don't know how the drone program, it's unclear to me how that would help us with burglaries and batteries. I would like to be thinking about ways and tools that we can use to reduce our most frequent crimes as well as our most damaging crimes, whatever those are.
Well, I mean, you get eyes, if there's a burglary, you might get eyes on whoever the
The perp buyer.
the person is. I mean, isn't that the point? Is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Correct, that's the,
Is that facial recognition connected to it?
no, there's no facial recognition attached.
No?
I'm not even gonna breach facial recognition yet. We're not there yet. It's like, no.
It, it,
I-
it would help you all in the sense of somebody's broken into, say, business A, and you can see if they're still there, and you need to send people there, correct, or what's happening, right?
Correct, the drone would help with that.
Yeah, you'll be able to see and then establish maybe you need more of a response or less of a response
Correct.
as well.
Let me run you through, I'll run you through an example, and then maybe it'll help. So let's say there's a burglary at a medical marijuana dispensary in town, and the front door is smashed. But it comes into us as an alarm only, glass break alarm. Let's say we had the drone program to where it would deploy to these glass break alarms. The drone gets there, and the officer is able to see that the glass is broken. That would necessitate a bigger response, because then you're talking about a perimeter, you're talking about possible canine on scene, you're talking about at least a minimum of 6 people with the supervisor on scene. If the suspects are still within the building, then we call them out, we do that. If they take off on foot, now you're talking about an expanded perimeter, so you're talking maybe more of, from 4 people, maybe we're just trying to keep a small one, to now maybe it's 8 people, and we're locking down multiple blocks, and we're looking for these people. So the drone would be able to assist, so let's say they took off on foot, and they were wearing blue shirt, blue pants. The officers would be able to see that, and if they saw somebody walking or running in that area in blue shirt, blue pants, that gives them reasonable suspicion to stop that person and conduct their investigation. That's a very basic use of the drone.
I need to clarify, my goal would be to reduce the crime, not I mean, we need to
Preventative.
catch, but
Right.
I'm also concerned with how do we prevent the crime? Because you win
Right.
100% of fights, you don't get in, right? So if we can figure out what is causing some of our recurring crimes, when I'm looking for the patterns, I'm looking at, what kind of other tools might we be able to empower you or other departments with to prevent crime from ever happening in the first place. So that's where I'm,
That's perfect. We do that through, yeah.
both sides of it.
any other questions?
Thank you.
Are you bringing forward any programs that we've talked about, like bike patrol, e-bike? I know you rolled out the new
Bikes.
e-bike. What kinds of things might we expect to see in the budget reference to those?
E-bike patrol will be built in. We haven't been at full staff in a long time, so as we get up to full
Yeah.
staff, you're gonna see more of these programs that we had in the past come back to fruition. So with 4 openings, we're probably pretty close to being able to roll out full-time bike patrols and that. We're probably a couple months away from that. Other programs right now in the budget, I'm not looking at rolling out any other programs at where we're at. We're looking at expanding what we have once the vacancies are filled. So that would look like more detectives, more traffic officers, nighttime traffic officers, nighttime detectives, things like that.
I believe at one point, I maybe heard you talk about the mobile data crime,
Real-time intelligence,
real-time intelligence, yes.
that's a couple years out. But
Okay, I know it was something that was talked about at one point as a future item. We're not quite there yet on that. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last that I see is recreation.
Yep.
Or no, education was next.
Education. But they can go together.
Well, I would like to bring up to council to consider the possibility of encouraging or directing staff to encourage alternative education opportunities in Clermont, besides just relying on the Lake County School Board for education solutions. There's now a step up in the state. There's private schools, charter schools, micro schools, homeschooling, places for people to go to educate their kids. A lot of that relates to development design. I'm not necessarily asking for us to run an educational program, but I am wondering how the council feels about prioritizing alternative education opportunities as part, perhaps this goes towards the comprehensive planning team to consider how that could be implemented.
I'm more interested in having a library.
And that's related to education, right? So I would suggest that every segment of the city, whether it's quarters or 5 or it's 8 or whatever it is, have a library. I think every person should have easy access to a library. That would be, in my mind, one of those places that all the trails, all the roads lead to, part of that community center in those areas. So I'm 100% for libraries. I think it's great.
Yeah, I have apprehension to us as a council advocating for something that potentially could be direct conflict with our partner, one of our partnering governing bodies. And I think it gets us dabbling into something that I'm not sure that we need to get involved with as a city council, since we have a school board. And I think we could advocate for our school board representative for our district to perhaps invite that person and the superintendent here to a meeting to talk about exploring alternatives and opportunities, rather than us take on that initiative to do that.
I think
Like that
that's
idea.
consistent with what I was asking for.
Yeah.
That would be in line with it. It's just, what we can do, or if there's anything we can do to encourage alternative education opportunities for our residents. I don't know if you were here, Brian, we had the representatives from the school board come last year.
I was out there.
Yeah, and they, I knew you came to all the meetings, so I wasn't sure if you were at that. And, I just saw the plan. What I heard from them was the plan to move such a big body. It moves slow, and we've got schools that are so far apart that creating walkable, so if we talk about walkability and being family-friendly and small business-friendly, people need to have access to education, they need to have access to food, they need to have access to recreation, they need to have access to their government. And so, to me, one of the things that's missing, library's great. I mean, that could be an easy way to do it, because there's a lot of education that can be done in libraries. So, I like your idea of bringing out our school board rep, maybe as a workshop, but ways that we can support educational choice for the residents of Clermont.
So could we direct the staff to see about funding a library, how much it would cost, where we could put it at?
Sure. That's good with me.
Everyone
Yes.
with that?
Yeah, I think there's some partnership opportunity there with the county. I know
Yeah.
they have a role there
Yeah.
with what we currently have, and I know there's some conversations about the college. I think, expanding and utilizing that building for the college, not necessarily for a community library. And so I think we need to get a better footing for where that actually is, how that stands, what kind of funding would continue from a different level, and then what the city involvement would be. So I think that kind of workshop would be incredibly helpful,
Yes.
because it would have a budget impact.
Yes.
We're in ongoing conversations. I mean, the mayor has been with me too about the library, and we've just not found the right spot.
Haven't found the right location.
But we are actively looking,
Okay.
and the county's ready, but they've got a limited budget too,
Okay.
so.
County is still looking and they're ready to go, but, in the past, the city has always contributed money to the library and everything. In the last few years, we haven't been contributing money.
Okay.
So as a matter of fact, a big thing now is just find a location for the library, trying to find a location.
Can Yeah, make that a good priority, because I know that's.
It's been a priority for the last couple of months.
How
Family
big,
loves the
it's-
library.
how big does it have?
20,000 square feet right now.
They looking for,
Looking for 20,000
about 20,000 square feet.
That's what the current
last
one is.
conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
That's just not regular.
basically, we have no library pretty much as it is right now. The one at the school is basically been shut down. Except for, I think, on Saturday, the children's library is completely gone, I think.
Yeah, it's,
What about the
it
Keeler
hasn't been
Center?
good for a while,
What about the Keeler Center?
for, yeah.
I mean, that's
Having it
kind
as
of
a
a great size for
It's
a
not
small
big enough.
library.
It wouldn't be big enough.
Could we use it temporarily until we find, well, I guess you don't want to do that.
Well, I guess the point is direct staff to find something. I'm not going to be in support of a massive 20,000 square foot library. I'll say that. I don't want people to have to drive to the library to get an education. For me, smaller libraries, multiple of them throughout the city, is what I would get on board with. So if there were places like the Keeler Center, kind of in each quadrant, down in Wellness Way, smaller, they don't have to be that small, but I don't think we need to have massive buildings in order to educate our children.
I think it'd be more effective if you have one large thing to take, like it's an elephant, take it one time, one bite out of it, because you're talking about 5 different places or whatnot
Yeah.
in this area and whatnot. I think that makes it harder, probably, because then you gotta have computers, you gotta have books, you gotta have staff. That's more money, as I see it, versus having one place. Because Clermont has had one library for years and years, and people drove there. I mean, you have to drive. That's part of being here in the South. It's hot. Everything isn't walkable. And I think going to a library would be a feasible place to have to drive to. And then eventually, what you're saying, to get to the communities, that would be wonderful. But with budget constraints and reality, I think we probably do one spot.
Well, like, we could look at the Performing Arts Center as a location right now to put in a smaller library without having to overwhelm it. And when, I think that having 4 places that are 4,000 square feet or 3,000 square feet is just as difficult or easy to manage as one place with 20,000 square feet, with the only real difference being, on one hand, people, depending on where it's located, have to drive 10 to 20 minutes, and on the other hand, everybody's, 2 to 10 minutes.
But I'm also thinking of staffing.
Staffing, when you start
That's
talking
the big
about all the
thing.
different locations, you start talking about staffing and all this, and it's much easier to manage one location than it is all these several. Besides, if you look at the Keeler Center, what you gonna do with it, for you put the library in there, that's pretty much knocking out, your senior centers, seniors use and everything, if you start putting a library in there. This Keeler Center would be, I don't think, a good location for a library. It's too small, first of all, and then it's already designated as the senior center. So you put the library in there, where the seniors gonna go, okay? I think what we've always had is, as Myra said, we've always had one library located in the city. I think in a good location. That's why I think our conversation with this county has been to try to get it up in the central part of what I consider more or less central part of housing, up near the school in that area. Somewhere, if we can find something up in that area, which will more centralized for everybody to grow in police size. That's where most of the residents are living, up in that area. That would most likely, most of the high school students and college students is up in that area. So I think something up in that area would be fantastic, and more convenient and walkable for a lot of the high school students and everything, rather than way down here. We don't have many high school students and a lot of kids and everything in this area to be down in the downtown area. I know we looked at using the old police department, and we kind of ruled that out because it was going to be too much work. The place is in such bad shape. It was going to be too much work, renovation, and they didn't want to put money in it. So.
Well, I think Councilmember Myers brought up directing staff or giving staff kind of a philosophical, I keep going back to that, approach of, hey, we'd like to see an emphasis on what would it take to allocate resources and funds to a library system, whether that's a community, whether it's a community, start with a community and build out to neighborhoods, or it's all neighborhoods. But present us something, guide us through that, and give us something to tackle and actually vote on.
Staff has already been working on that.
Good, great.
And like I
Head of the
said,
game again.
For months, I mean, I remember I brought up library months ago, almost a year ago, and of course, ever since then, we've been kind of behind the scene trying to do all this here.
That's wonderful.
And it has really
Because we need it.
come down to, it's almost a must now, because it's basically, the library as Lake Sumter is going away. Yeah. Pretty much gone. Big thing is, I don't think we'll have any problem helping the county fund it. We've always done it in the past. Figure out some kind of way to help the county fund it. It's just biggest problem right now is finding a location, a building big enough. I know I had suggested to them the old Badcock building, and I think by the time
That
they
would be
went.
good.
Well, by the time they went to look at that, somebody else had already put something else in there. I thought it was a great location, the old Badcock.
Because that's not too far from the.
Or even like the old Dicks.
Huh?
Oh, the old Dicks. What about the old Dicks?
And I think there's
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 some
somebody
there
there
too?
too,
Yeah,
yeah.
Somebody's in there, and I thought the old Dix was just, with Miss Strange, I thought that would just be way too.
Oh, it might be, yeah. But I'm just certain location wise, if we're gonna do,
Well,
start
well,
with
yeah.
one, some location
It's
like that.
40,000 square feet.
Oh, that's pretty large.
Yeah,
Wow.
see?
40,000,
That's pretty large.
yeah.
But that still would be great to have, because,
That's a lot of
we
books.
would be leading
Maybe
with
we could,
education, you
maybe
know
we
what I'm
could find,
saying?
like-
With
Well, there's other
libraries.
partnership opportunities
Yeah,
there too.
too, yeah.
well, if there could be maybe like an indoor recreation partner that would join with it, like.
That
you
would
do
be awesome.
Pickleball and books, or, you know, put it out there.
I mean,
Indoor,
you can
indoor
have it
playground and
extensive.
books, something.
Could
I
be
mean, you
a-
could have an extensive learning center for
There was a
little
pickleball
kids, you know what
facility
I'm
that
saying?
looked at
Like
that
some
when
of the
they
bigger
passed
cities
because
have
Judy
done with
Collins
their
is there.
libraries, you could have, I mean, I've seen some major ones that are done fabulously.
Innovative.
Incubator,
Something innovative.
incubator opportunities for all kinds of business.
Yeah.
We'll keep looking,
Yeah.
hopefully they'll keep looking.
that idea.
Actually, if you haven't been in Mount Verd lately, Mount Verd just did a new library and like community, I guess you can call it library and town hall and everything. If you haven't been over there to see that, I would love to see us, if we had the property and funding to do something like that, what the Mount Verd has just done over there for their
Mount
library.
Vernon doing.
Yeah, Mount Verd. They got a very nice little library, and I guess it's the town hall, moved the town hall in there, and office, a little office space and everything over there, but it's very nice over there.
wow.
What they did, if you get a chance to go over there and check it out, in Mount Verd, so. It was done in partnership with the county as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Do you want to do community center? That goes under,
Or recreation is a big picture.
Yeah, recreation.
well,
Talk about
Parks and
recreation.
recreation.
I know that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, DPZ had a meeting in Lincoln Park about, one of the topics was about community center. I know there's been lots of discussions at various levels about, you know, first of all, should there be a community center? Where the community center would be located? Do we want a community center? I certainly would be of the mindset of yes. It's just a matter of what and where. And I don't know how, I don't proclaim to have the idea of how we get to that spot of deciding that, you know, in terms of what that looks like or where that looks like. But I do think, you know, at some point with some of these bigger topic things like this, that either we need to say, yes, we're committing to it and we allocate the funds to study it, to build, to present it, to then move it forward, to staff it, whatever. Or we say, it's not on our radar and, you know, we're gonna move on. Hopefully, maybe someone in the private sector would work on it. Because I just think that pushing it on, it doesn't do our residents any good, especially the people who are committed to wanting to see it done. I think they might not be happy if that's the decision we made, but at least they know a decision.
They know what we're-
I think we just need to start making some of these bigger decisions, and without a plan of what it would look like and supporting it, it's kind of hard to say whether or not we're gonna do it.
yeah, because my concern with the community center is the funding of it, because we do need it, I believe that, but it's, the operating budget for that. I know I benefit from a community center growing up, so I'm a strong supporter of them. They just don't make money, because they're not intended to make money.
Service, yeah.
Because it's service, so that's the thing, like how much money how much would it cost for us to build one? How much would it cost to operate one? I think that would help me in knowing, yes, we should pursue this, or it's just, like you said, private sector, because I know for me, I had a youth center growing up, but it was, military, it was on Air Force bases and stuff, and I'm a strong proponent because it helped me and my brother, but again, funding.
So I think philosophically, one thing that might help us ideologically is, do we as a council generally believe that bigger is better, or do we generally believe that smaller is better? Because I have heard different philosophical approaches to some of the things we've talked about today. I'm a believer that smaller is better. So one thing that I find to be interesting is how many people live and around the Keeler Center who have never been to it and don't even know what it is. And I think that that actually is demonstrative of the fact that community centers and recreation are best suited, and this is where I go to libraries, I think that they're best suited close to the people they're intended to serve. Because just crossing East Avenue, many of the folks in Lincoln Park aren't either using Keeler Center, which is a community center, or they're not even aware that it's there. I spoke to some people who live in the yacht club who didn't even know it was there. And so here we have a community center, and the residents who are within biking distance of it don't even know that it's there. And so I think that's interesting. Without putting judgment on it, I do believe that having amenities close to the citizens is helpful. One of and I bring that up in the context of the community center because an argument could be made that the Parks and Recreation or Performing Arts Center is our Clermont Community Center. But I don't think it is. I think it's its own thing, and it's unique. I don't think it serves all of the young people. I grew up going to we called it the Boys Club back there, and now it's Boys and Girls Club. But I like you, I grew up I was able to have access to a center where I could go and be with kids, and my mom worked, and it was great, and I was able to ride my bike there from school. So that's why, to me, the school locations are important, the library locations are important. I think a community center, and we're talking about in Lincoln Park, I'm guessing we're talking about that one.
I think that's where it's been talked about the most up to this point, anyway. Yeah.
I think I think there's a great opportunity to build a community center, and what people will it serve is always kind of one of the questions when you talk about any recreational facility. Yeah, and early conversations that I heard around it related to, well, anyone can use it. And I don't think that is a good approach to a true community center. I think it should be built for the people in the community. Your neighborhood has a community center. Calling you out because you're on council. Your neighborhood has a community center, and it's for the neighborhood.
Right.
And it's good size, but it's not the size of the Performing Arts Center, right? So figuring out who we're serving, what are we serving, I think it's great. We have the McKinney Park property. I actually spoke to some of the representatives at the school board about the property that they own south of McKinney Park. Generally, the feeling I got was if we wanted to be able to use maybe 100, 200 feet on the Bloxham Avenue side of that for a new park, that would be an option. And so I tend to not take the approach with recreation that one location is good. I tend to take the approach that having multiple options within walking or biking distance is better for the community members than having one place that you must go. This is your only option. So creating additional playground spaces, creating additional walk with nature places. Again, do we believe that bigger is better, or do we believe that smaller is better? And I think that will help us guide these conversations if we really look at it, because I would suggest we probably can't have both massive and a number of small ones, because the number of small add up to the cost of one big one, usually, whatever that one big one might be, unless you go into the private sector. So I would like to see us have a conversation like that, because I'll say my perspective is generally smaller is better, people being within 5 minutes. And I think with the way development's gone, I'll say a golf cart works 5 minutes, a bike, to your point that it's hot.
Yes,
Mo-
it's-
Most people, if you're just walking 5 minutes, or if you're biking 5 minutes, you're a golf cart, you start getting beyond that, and it's like, I'm getting in my car, I'm not doing this anymore, because it's too much. But if we want to create opportunities for people to be active and in nature,
I guess, because my viewpoint is a little different, because I'm used to where you only had one, and you drove, or you rode your bike, and you had to walk. I had to walk 20 minutes to get to it, so, and the way our city is set up, you have to drive. And when it hits a certain time, which is, I would say now, you don't want to walk, it's too hot.
Yeah.
But I get your point of wanting to have more access to it, but I don't think it should just be the requirement only, is that, because somebody's gonna have to drive regardless. So we have it at a central location or whatnot. I just keep thinking of funding, because if you have multiple, then that's multiple, okay, well, who's gonna pay for that? And who's gonna staff it? You know what I'm saying? Because I remember mine, sometimes it was just one person that worked there, you know what I'm saying? Because they were deployed or whatnot, you know what I'm saying? So, reality, it's kind of like, that's nice to have small ones, but I think we start with one possibly and see how much that would cost for the operation as well as the building of it, to see if it's even feasible to have multiple locations, because I don't know if that's really feasible financially in the days that we are in, just saying.
What's our current partnership with Boys and Girls Club at the Arts and Rec Center?
Brian can speak to that.
Yeah. And what I mean by that, in terms of what's our partnership, what is it, but also including in that is financial.
Yes.
What kind of financial and or staffing is included in the partnership?
We have a rental contract with them. They're paying, it's around $875 a month, and then there's
$1,000, we paying $1,000 a month right now.
and there's 3% increase every year. It was a 10-year contract. And, but they just have that space. Like, we might do if something from a maintenance perspective needs to be addressed, we address it, but they run their own program in their own space.
Okay.
Boys and Girls Club, they do their own staff and they do all that, but we basically pay them $1,000, I think, with the new contract we did a couple of years ago, a 3% increase every year on the contract. I think when we first started, we did a $500 a year, $500. And then we started increasing it, so, but the space, I would like to see, and I think the Boys and Girls Club would like to come out of that building, go back to what Ms. Strange was just saying. That's considered the community center, but however, due to the location, nobody can get to it, okay? And the number for the Boys and Girls Club is really down, because parents can't even afford to take their kids there now because of the location. And then go back to Lincoln Park, that's why the conversation came around Lincoln Park and the community center in there, because we build it, we can move the Boys and Girls Club in there, and it's more feasible and walkability for the kids, because studies showed a few years ago, I don't know what the study is now, because it's been about 10, 12 years since we did the study, but 65% or 75% of our kids at the time live within a 2-mile radius of the Lincoln Park area.
of the Boys and Girls Club kids?
Now, when we was doing the Boys and Girls Club. Originally, we tried to put the Boys and Girls Club at Clermont Middle School, but the principal or administrator would not let us go in there, so that's why we did end up at the CPAC. Once we got CPAC, we was able to move them in there and give them a permanent home. I think in the first 4 years we had the Boys and Girls Club, we moved it 5 times. Okay, we started out over on Mohawk. We went down, we was at a couple of the different churches. I think we was at the Presbyterian Church. We was at, Living Hope, And of course, we finally got in there when we took over, we got in the CPAC when we finally purchased that and moved it in there. And we used to have over 300 kids a day going in that Boys and Girls Club when it first started. Of course, it was new, and we had the cost, and it was really reasonable, and the cost of living wasn't so bad at the time when we first did it, so parents were really using a lot. But with the cost of living and everything going up now, I'm finding we have a lot of low-key kids kids going home in that, in the evening, and because the parents just can't afford and the kids can't get there. So that was the big idea behind the Boys and Girls Urban new community center down in the Lincoln Park area, which we looked at the 10 acres back there. He talking about doing a live local project with the city, and that's what we was preparing to try to purchase that 10 acres back there to put the Boys and Girls Club back in the back end, which already complement McKinney Park. You already got McKinney Park and all these things there. So with the community center, all we had to do was really put a building in. Wouldn't have to worry about extra fields and all that because you already had that existing.
What if we did like a 30-year lease with the Boys and Girls Club? Would they build a center on that property in McKinney?
Well, first of all, you don't want to build it on McKinney. Why we don't want to tear up McKinney Park? I mean, how you gonna put a building on McKinney Park, then you're taking away fields and everything else that's highly utilized right now. It is very highly utilized, McKinney. The fields up there, so that's one of the big fights. I know the people that's trying to do the Boys and Girls Club, we kind of mashing because that's what they want to do is tear up the field up there and put building in there. But if you do that, you're talking about parking, you squeezing in parking, and you're taking away a lot of space that kids are utilizing right now for recreation, softball, football, all these kind of different activity. I know we need more fields. Brian can probably speak to that as well. That was one of the questions in the last meeting I had with them is, can they find somewhere else? No, that's why they're there, because it's nowhere else.
Well,
Now, I gave the group that's working with it, I gave them an option that you all may not know about. But right behind O'Reilly's, on Highland Avenue and O'Reilly's. We own about 3 acres, I think it's a little less than 3 acres, the city owned that. That's where the old water tower used to be for the city years ago when I grew up, but that's still our property. So I looked at it as, hey, that's an option. We can put a community center in there as well. Yeah, I think so, anyway. We wouldn't end up tearing up McKinney Park. It's still walkable, it's accessible, and other thing is very accessible. Even you got the bus route on Highway 50 that can stop there and kids can walk, because you got a bus stop there, and I think it's one right there across the street, what's that, old Mickey Blackburn's building. There's a bus stop there. It's another one at Winn-Dixon, so you got walkability even off a bus stop. I think I think it's a great location.
Why hasn't that come? I've never heard that.
Well, it's something I threw out there at the group. When was the last meeting we had with them, Mr.?
Only about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, I gave them that option, and of course, they kind of frowned upon that, but I'm like,
The Boys and Girls Club? Didn't
well,
like
the
it?
group that's really working to try to do the arts community center and everything. And another reason I like the community center, and I've been pushing the community center for years, for 10 years or so, I've been talking about a community center. Goes back to your education portion, because the city isn't responsible for education, okay? That's not our job. We have the school board to do that. But in the meantime, if we have a community center, we can go in there and we can offer little classes, like have somebody come in and do GED classes or specialized classes and everything. And I know Ms. Myers talked about it. See, I did these kind of things. This is what I read. I read community centers. I did these kind of things for the Air Force. And when you start, and we had to offer these things for our service members and all. And that was pretty much my job, community centers. And when you start talking about all these different locations, as you go back again. Now, I got one over here, I got staff this, and I got another one, I got a staff there, and you gotta have programs in both of them. Your cost goes up tremendous. So when you got one central location, you're better off.
But we're seeing this play out, that we have one central location, and because we're so big, it's not serving the community that it needs to serve.
Right, well, it's not in the best of
I was gonna say, I wouldn't say it's a central location of
It's not the
its,
central
of its
location.
highest use, kids, if we're talking about Boys and Girls Club.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
just not in the location of its highest use.
But like the
of
people in Wellness
population.
Way probably aren't gonna come to Lincoln Park. I mean, there's probably a need for a community. That's what I'm saying is, that, when I look at it, like, what is the square footage that the Boys and Girls Club is using now at the CPAC? Give or take, I'm not looking for an exact,
Yeah. I was gonna say,
2,000 square feet,
I
1,000
would-
square feet?
No, it's more than that. It's about a quarter of the building, so I'm gonna say 8,000, just, that's a random number.
Yeah,
Like
but we would
14
love, we would love to
about
get them
14
out of the Boys and Girls Club and give it back to the city so the city can do a little bit more with it as well. But keep in mind, they also have the pool up there. They also have the basketball court, see? And
the
when you
basketball
start
court's
talking about a community center, you need the basketball court,
Yeah, you need a
volleyball
pool.
court, all these things, so.
Definitely need a court.
But, so, and of course, you can have room in there for the Boys and Girls Club and all these extra rooms that you can do some education, specialized education training and everything, which I don't think is any problem.
But having some craft rooms
yeah.
and
Yeah,
some,
all that
right,
and then a
right.
So
court
should we
where they
just
can all.
direct staff to look and see how much,
I
I'm
like,
sure you're already looking,
do we
right?
own that real estate?
What you find, a year and a half.
Do we own the real estate he just described? I didn't know we owned that. piece of
Yes.
property.
Yeah, it's not.
I think it's a little less than 3 acres.
It's
It's,
not gonna fit everything we're
Every-
talking about.
no, it's not gonna fit
3
everything.
acres, you can
You
put,
still
you can
have
put a
to-
two-story
You can't do it-
building
you
that
can't
has.
do a gym and all the
See, and
elements
that's,
on it. It won't fit.
and that's why I said
Well,
in
why
the
don't we
past, we
I
looked
think
at
it
at
would-
least
Why don't
having
we do
about
a
10
small-
acres
well,
or 5 acres.
I guess we just do, can we just do a smaller one then? Where you just have a smaller gym, you have like a craft room, a billiards room, and then a little mini kitchen. I'm thinking about what I had as a
Well,
kid,
if-
it was not big.
You could do a 3-story
And they did a
building that
whole lot
has
in there.
a gym on the top or a gym on the bottom and the classrooms on the second and third. You don't have to
Where
be
we left
flat.
the discussion,
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, he suggested this to
Okay.
his credit.
Yeah.
They're gonna have a community meeting,
okay.
and then he said, we'll let the residents decide what they wanna do. And I respected you for doing that, Mr. Mayor. He has his opinion, and he told the ladies, if that's what the residents want at McKinney, we'll do it. So, I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if they put that meeting
Well, they haven't
together.
put it together yet because I live in the community, but basically what it boils down to is, that, like I said, they want to tear up McKinney Park and take all, the whole upper level of McKinney Park, all the grassy area, and put buildings in there and make a community center. So you have no play areas, no softball fields, no really, other than what you have down below with the pavilion and the basketball court.
Well,
And I'm
remember,
not for that, and most of the people I talk with in the community, they don't wanna see that happen either, okay? Because you're taking to where's all the kids, that's utilizing that for softball practice, football practice, where are those kids gonna go, okay?
well, DPZ did a design for that in McKinney Park. And they, basically, if you broke it up into 3 sections, where you've got the front section with the playground, the gazebo, the suggestion was to put the building in the center and then maintain the softball. So it's quite big, and if you
No,
don't spread it out.
Everything's centered around the upper portion, again,
Yeah.
tearing out the upper portion.
I'm just saying there could be a different
But-
design that could, I think you're right, I think they need an outdoor play space, you need
gotta
an indoor
get- you
play
gotta have all
space,
that.
and you need classrooms.
Yeah.
I like the idea, I think your point about the bus stop is really good, I like, what is the name of that street? Is it Highland?
Well, that was another reason I was looking at, we looked at the 10 acres there behind McKinney Park with all the pine trees, if we could have gotten hope to that. We even,
That's-
we even tried to purchase the 8 acres, I guess it was, where the Volkswagen dealership. We were
Right.
looking at that as well.
But we do have 2 now.
Yeah, we have 2, exactly.
Right?
Plus
Right,
that.
so we have 2, I mean, that, you could put soccer fields there, you could put a soccer field where the school board is. I mean, there's, again, you could spread it
can-
out, so it doesn't
can
have
make
to
it
all
work.
be in one place.
We can
What-
make it work.
Where I'm gonna get to yes on community centers and the like, is if they are cost-effective to build, but also that we have a public-private partnership. That's where, I think the point you make about staffing, and it's a valid point. Oh, that one is 1.7? Oh, that is pretty small, but it's worth looking at.
It's very small, but you know, and the reason I threw that out there, Adam, because they looking at the portion up there at McKinney Park, if they were to take McKinney Park, you're looking at, less, about the same
about
amount
the
of
same
space,
amount of
about 2 acres or so, 2 or 3 acres. Cause I think whole McKinney Park is just under 5 acres, you know, so.
Yeah, split it in
So,
half, you're-
so that's
or-
why
or
I'm saying, if
same
you feel
number.
like you can build that, hey, well, let's put it over here on this piece as well, let's look at this piece.
Or maybe
Now,
to
it's
your
another,
point,
another thing I'm looking at, and we considered, was, up just up off the, Pitt Street along Blotson. Right now, I think there's 2 5-acre tracts there. I think we got a proposal to put something in there. They still waiting, to come back. The one right behind the apartment
Oh,
complex.
I know what you're talking
We
about.
looked at trying to purchase those acres, that, a couple of old plots as well, a couple of years back, to try to put the boys, put it in
That's
there.
kind
as
of
well.
out of the way. I like
Well,
the other two locations.
Well,
better.
well, yeah, but
So can you all look into that one,
Yeah.
with the location that he was talking about earlier?
I think,
Or
I
where
think,
it-
he-
Yeah, much
I
better.
think I pretty much let him know that if we want to keep an eye on the, Live Local, that Live Local project, if it's fall through right now, because I don't know where it's going, okay, and if not, let's look at trying to purchase that, acreage.
But that's outside of our, I mean, that's a private, if the Boys and Girls Club wants to buy land and build something, that's on them. What we're talking about is a community-funded community center.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And-
We, when I'm saying we, that was the city, not the Boys and Girls Club. We, the city was looking to purchase the 10 acres behind McKinney Park, not the Boys and Girls Club, okay? For the community center.
Y'all mind if we move on, cause it's
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
23.
So, yeah.
Time is ticking.
We're actively looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
We,
I promise.
we working it.
I believe you. Okay, so we had communication and engagement strategies.
Do we, can I just ask Brian, the same question, I guess, for Mr. Foreman? Any bigger ticket, newer items?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Innovation, whatever, that you might be bringing forward in the next budget?
I don't know, I mean, the big ticket items, the really big ticket items are Bishop Field, which we just talked about last
Yep.
week, and Meet in the Middle. Those are the
Okay.
really big ticket items.
Okay.
There'll be some other moderate things, but.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
On
you.
the subject of
me-
meet in the
go ahead.
middle, can I get support to look at an alternative drawing for the meet in the middle? To direct staff to get something, and here's what
From a
I'm,
different person altogether, or just?
well,
so we have-
Jeff does it, I don't know
Okay,
about me.
okay.
The things that have really worn on me with that project are the amount of concrete involved in it, the tearing out of the trees that are there.
Okay.
And I continue to hear from the community, they want the pier, they want the pier, they want the original old pier back. And I think there's probably a scenario where we can still have the tiered seating area, we can still have a veterans memorial. In fact, the specifics I would look for is to do the tiered seating area where the trail comes up and have the veterans memorial on the waterfront, rather than up above where people's backs are to it. Instead, have it to where the memorial is on the waterfront, so when you sit in the tiered area, you're looking at the flags with the lake behind you. It could allow us to maintain the grassy area with the trees, maybe extend the trees and line it down, so you have a shaded space. And I think that it's potentially a more affordable alternative that we could just fund and get the pier back and have this really great seating area with a beautiful memorial, and the veterans feel heard and received, and we're not spending $10 million. And in the comprehensive plan with ABA, they were talking about how we have a mile linear park. And if you imagine, we could maybe let the cycling be more of something that's incorporated into the whole mile, instead of trying to shove everything in one place. And then as you're coming up the trail, you would see this memorial with the flags, and it would just be the entrance to downtown. And, you know, we're talking $10 million, and I just kind of think maybe having another option that, if I could get your support to direct staff, I would like to do that.
That sounds
I think
pretty.
he's already doing the second option, so then, I don't know, what phase are we up to with?
I have no idea.
We've done 2 different options, and I think we voted we've voted on the design and everything. One of the options at the last council memo that was approved.
On engineering.
Then he
And
should
it's
have
not
the
gonna be,
document.
Reevaluate it.
and the cost isn't gonna be $10 million, okay? It's gonna be a lot, it's less than 9 million right now. Last estimate I got, and I'm expecting the cost to even go down even less than that. And the funding is available already, so, I'm hearing, yeah, they want the pier back, and they definitely want the pier back, but also they put the, slips on the pier as well. That's been a big requirement, and people been asking for that for years, okay? even before I was.
Well, I'm hearing the pier, but not a lot of support
Yeah,
for
well-
slips.
Yeah, I'm hearing the pier.
Well, we had a vote. I mean, the council had a vote in October.
Yeah.
But the vote was to move forward with engineering so we could make an informed decision
And to
on the
put it out to
final.
bid and to then bring it back so that we can vote on it.
Right.
And that was the directive that, I think Councilmember Peterson made that motion. And I know that there was some conversation after that about, did you actually fund it? No, it was
Right.
I went back, I've watched that meeting multiple times to try to clear up that confusion on that. And I believe it was to move forward with a plan at the reduced footprint and cost, so that it could then go to design, go out for bid, come back to council, so it could get an up or down vote,
Okay.
and there could be a decision. I look at this as very similar to the conversations related to Fire Station 2. Not all of us may be happy with where we are, but we have to move forward at some point, and either we vote it up or down, but this constant redo, we're not going anywhere. We're not actually doing anything. And it's gonna be another year before we get to this point again, if we ask for another whole redesign and architectural rendering. And I just can't support that. I wanna see what they bring forward based off what council approved, and decide whether or not we move forward with it. That would be my preference. If we're gonna do something else, I would, I guess, argue that that needs to be done through a resolution, because we approved this process through a resolution. That it wouldn't be just something we would just consensus give here, that it would have to be through a formal resolution to alter that path. Because that was a
Fine with
council
me.
decision.
May I make a statement, just to let you know, it's not stopped, it's moving forward.
Right.
Right.
It's going through permitting,
Okay,
drawings are continuing.
okay,
So my suggestion, if you considered something, would not to stall or stop
Okay.
anything.
okay.
Because it's been too long.
It's too long, yeah. we
And you
did-
gotta do, you keep moving, and if you consider something else, that's you guys' decision, but it's moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we signed a check for St. John's Water Management the other day, everything's moving forward.
St. John's, permitting and all that is
You made
moving
valid
forward
point,
based
yeah.
upon. But before Brian left, I wanted to go back to one of the things you said about e-bikes and everything. Can you comment on the email you got for the e-bikes and lesson?
Oh, yeah, Deborah Hodge reached out about doing a program related to education and e-bikes and the trail and the new laws that are coming out in July. And I'm working on setting up a meeting with her and PD and Kurt, so.
She came to me a couple months ago, well, we've been talking a couple months back, and she told me she wanted to work, agreed to go ahead and have her work on her program. And of course, she got the program, I asked her to go to Brian and work with Brian in the PD department, so we can get some education on that thing, because we need to do something about these e-bikes, especially on our trails and everything, so. He's working on setting up, that hopefully in the next, I'm hoping to get done before the 1st of July, because I think the new law go in effect the 1st of July. So, but I don't know where, I know I just saw the email today where you all was communicating and everything. That's but I wanted to get that out there since, Councilman Bang mentioned e-bikes earlier, so let him know where we're at on that, okay? It's working. I think you ready to go, Brian?
Yeah, I'm here if you.
He put you on the spot. Thank you.
But, back to me, I think Mr. Van Wagner said everything moving forward, and the last I got is in June, they will supposed to be coming, I think Mr. Powell is coming to us to present us with engineering and drawing and everything for us to move,
Okay.
to continue to move forward. And once that, depending upon what we do at council meeting, whether it goes out for bid from there in June.
So we vote to take it out? Is that the process we're
I
doing?
think
Is
that's
that
what
we're
I was
doing?
told we were.
Because all we approved was engineering,
Yeah.
so. we haven't
Okay,
actually
that's what I want to make
approved
sure.
the project
Yeah. So
That's why I'd
it's
like
coming
an
back in
alternative.
June?
As soon as I get it.
Oh, or whatever.
Whenever,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Last conversation I had with Mr. Powell, he said he's looking to bring it in June, bring it to us in June, so I'm not sure.
Our next one was communication and engagement strategies for citizen participation.
Do I need to bring it back to the council?
Oh, okay.
For Meet Us in the Middle, it's going out for engineering drawings. Do I need to bring that to the council to get permission to get it bid, or can I bid it? No.
Yeah. Once he's gonna bring the drawing, the engineer and everything come back to us in June, and if we approve that, then it goes back to Freddie for bids and all. Is where I was told it's at right now.
So just to be
Tell us.
clear, the only drawings that we've looked at are, do we want to do the land and the water, or do we just want to do the water or just the land? We actually haven't seen a second concept for the park itself.
We've seen several different concepts for the park, okay? Over the years, we had 2 or 3 different concepts that went out. And I think the council last time we really bid on the concept, we had 2 options,
Yeah,
okay?
with the water or not with the water.
Well, with the water.
But that's not an option, that's just more of one.
With the option, but we bidded on the, I think we had 1 or 2 options, we bidded on the second, I think the council decided on the second option, number 2, and we sent it back to do the engineering and everything on that. Of course,
Wait for the Army Corps of Engineers, that was the lengthy thing.
right, and of course, even after that, we went back and made a couple of adjustments to that option as well, okay? And that's what, I think that's what he's constantly, what he's presently working on. We'll see where he comes from.
I've never seen a second option. So, if the council doesn't want to support an alternative, then I'll continue to be the sole no vote, I guess. But I don't think that the concrete and ripping out all the trees, and, you know, we already have concrete that we have a hard time keeping up with now, and this is gonna be the showcase piece, we're just adding more concrete. So I just think I know that it's exhausting, that it's been several years, but even when this started, it never came to the public for a whiteboard, for a visioning. It was just something that was done and brought to the public, and significantly, it's not changed since 4 years ago. It looks almost exactly the same. I was just asking for something alternative where you don't have your back to the Veterans Memorial, which did get added later. Okay.
Communication and engagement strategies for citizen participation.
Where are we with the funding that we did with the entity that we hired? I'm blanking on the name now.
Communication.
True North, yeah. Where are we with that process, and how will that affect our budget proposals this year?
They should be coming back to council probably in June for a recommendation, probably the second meeting of June. I think they wrapped up all their stakeholder talks or interviews, and I think their plan is to come back late in the second meeting in June to talk to you guys.
Okay. And that would potentially have budget
Potentially.
items?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what their recommendation is gonna be, but it could be anywhere from more staff, more consulting, I don't know, or
Okay.
stay the course.
And then we had parks and nature within 5 minutes of all citizens. I feel like we talked about that, right? Too, okay. And then, first-time buyers, home financial education for youth. That's something I would like for us, if there's some type of way to help our young people to get home ownership in our city.
I would like, along with that, I would like to see, one of the things that I'm not sure, I think I mentioned it to Mr. Van Wagner before, I would like to see the city get into some kind of scholarship program for our youth. Okay, offering some kind of scholarships.
For home ownership,
No,
college, for college?
Not homeowner, I'm talking
For
about
college?
educational scholarship, we talking about youth and, you talking about financial education, I'm talking about overall education. I think
Yeah,
we need-
college?
Yeah, college and everything, I think we need to maybe look at, start trying to fund some type of scholarship.
Isn't it something the chamber does, Vinnie?
Well, that's what Pig on the Pond is.
Yeah, that's
Pig on
the
the
big-
Pond
yeah.
does that, but that's Pig on the Pond, they separate entities. I think the city need to look at doing some more, that I don't think we can ever have too many scholarships out there for the people.
Well, I would like to have one for our first-time home buyers, for our young people who have.
Mr. Mayor, I thought you said you didn't think the city should be involved in education.
Offering scholarships, not getting, not trying to teach them, it's trying to help our young folks get ahead.
I'm not suggesting the city have a teaching curriculum or program. I'm suggesting that we create avenues to make it easier for alternative educational providers to come to the city, whatever that might mean. But I think that we already subsidize Pig on the Pond. We just approved their 2027, and their actual platform is scholarships. So I think philosophically too, it would be nice if we could have an agreement on, do we believe the government can do these things better, or do we believe the private sector should be doing things that, in my mind, the government's job is clean water, roads, public safety. And after that, I have a hard time supporting government running programming. And philosophically, it might just be that we are on different pages. It's just like community centers. I'd like to see a public-private partnership. The Boys and Girls Club wants to come and do a long-term lease on a facility that we build. I'm very interested in that. If there's a library organization that wants to come, I'm all for that. But when it comes to choosing between lowering the millage or funding more government staff and employees, I'm gonna choose lowering the millage unless it's related to water, sewer, police, fire. And I think we kind of bump up against that philosophical difference sometimes. So for me, it's philosophical. It's not individual project oriented. It's more who should be doing a thing. So I love that Pig on the Pond is here. I think it's great. If we want to add additional funding to support Pig on the Pond, I'm cool with it. I think that's wonderful. But I don't think we should be competing with them.
There are some models out there, Councilmember Myers, of communities that do different type of home buyer, whether it's grants or loans or forgivable loans, those types of things. I know that as time has evolved, they've changed, but there are some out there, and I think that
Orlando has one.
our city size and larger is typically where you would find something like that if we did that. I also think that in some cities where they have like a Department of Community Development versus economic development, but it's either a joint office or there's a focus on community development and looking at things like community development block grants and different type of housing initiatives, neighborhood associations, those types of things that perhaps maybe that's something that, again, kind of going back to the healthcare idea, maybe that's something that we talk about as a strategic priority, if we agree, for the city manager through that evaluation process to kind of look at and say, okay, outside of the service that we currently do, are there any new things like a healthcare, like a housing initiative program or a community development, if you want to kind of put it under that umbrella, that we might want to do that could benefit our residents and have that conversation. I don't know if we would be able to create something like that for this budget. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of what I know about those programs, like how we would do that right now without the infrastructure in City Hall to try to like drive that.
You're right, and
Or even if we could just give the information for them to like connect them with the people who actually do that, you know what I'm saying, possibly.
And making housing
usually
affordable.
for things like that, do you
Smaller
usually have
housing,
housing
regulations.
Well, yeah. Are y'all familiar with Ready, Set, Orange?
No, I'm not.
If not, I encourage you to Google Ready, Set, Orange. It's a program that Orange County does, and they basically have like multiple iterations of ADUs or small housing. That if you build one of these, it's an expedited process, and it goes a lot quicker, a lot smoother. There's a lot less hoops to go through because they don't have to review as much. There's things like that we could do that I think maybe we might have some resources available for us currently that we wouldn't need to add some additional things that could encourage some of that small A affordable housing things, but that could also at the same time work to try to improve homeownership and access to homeownership.
Groveland has the same thing.
Groveland does something like that as well, and so I think maybe those are some ways that we could look at. Maybe we want to encourage a future examination of community development from that lens and looking at how that would work within the city.
I like that, yeah.
We already have some ordinance on the book for ADUs and everything that try to encourage them. to
Yeah,
use
and this one
ADUs.
even goes a step
Nobody
further. Yeah.
Take advantage.
No,
of
this
it.
one even goes a step further and says basically if you choose one of these 5 plans, you're basically,
Oh,
there you go.
wow.
That's what
And,
Clermont is.
yeah, take a look at it. Ready, Set, Orange. It's a
Okay.
really interesting
Thank
program
you.
that they're doing. That, you know, we could model. Groveland, like I said, like you said, Groveland also has something out there like that.
Thanks.
Love something like that to
Orlando,
help our
St.
young
Cloud,
people,
and
you know?
Kissimmee also have
So
programs.
discouraging for them.
It is.
Okay, let's see. Fountain in East Lake. I didn't put that down.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that somebody selected, but we just had that presentation.
No, I put that in there because that's been that's been one of the requests that's been asked for me for years. Because East Lake is down off of Pitt Street and they always had problem with, what they always thought with algae in the lake and everything. So they always thought, fountain in there would help get rid of the, algae problem down there, algae bloom. So, they've done some cleaning up on the lake. It's pretty clean right now and did a lot of work.
Who's responsible for that lake?
We are.
That's
No, I don't think we take care of the land around it, the shores and everything else, the lake and all, and the city actually paid to have it, a little work done on it, cleaned up. But is Mr. Merriweather still back there? He did leave, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we've done some work in the past.
So
with most of it.
if there was like algae bloom, like a huge algae bloom in there or something, who would be responsible for addressing that? Is it the
Owns the
state?
property.
I don't know, that's what I'm asking, like, who owns the East, who actually owns quote-unquote
As
East
I
Lake?
said, last time we went through I went to Public
come
Work,
up,
Public
Stoney?
Work got
Here
in
comes
touch.
Stoney.
Oh, Stony is still back there.
That's an interesting question, I've never thought about that.
Well, they coordinated just like they do with Lake Minneola. Same thing with Lake Minneola.
It's actually the health department.
Oh.
They set the rules.
The
They
state or
do,
county?
they do the testing, yes. They do the testing through the state, say that's who did it. So they will give the warnings about no swimming and all that good stuff.
It's all coordinated through Stony, and I think, last time we had to clean up Lake Minneola and,
Yeah, we've done some work on the lake. Some discharge in there through stormwater for that lake. So the aeration may help that.
When was the last time we had a fountain there?
never had one.
Oh, we've never had
in
one?
East
Okay,
Lake.
so Center Lake, we had one.
Yes.
Center Lake, we put that in there some years
Yeah.
ago, and it made a tremendous difference.
So we
down
think
there.
that using that logic, it might help.
Yeah. So, but,
What does something like that cost?
I think we budgeted under $70,000. Yeah, you gotta get the power there, you gotta get it across the street into the lake, tie into the power by the lift station that's adjacent to it.
Are there any community groups that might find this to be important enough to them to help fund it?
I have no idea.
The XYZ ABC fountain at East Lake.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, the lake, and I'll throw this in there, they were trying to really keep the lake looking good and beautifying. Some people still fish in the lake, still a lot of fishing in there, but actually, to me, it got some historical value, but whether y'all realize or not, years ago, that's where, the people in Lincoln Park used to have to swim. They used to have to swim in there before they stopped us from swimming in there and made us come on over to, what is now West Beach.
They had to swim in there?
That's where we would swim at, yeah.
That-
We was
Like,
allowed to-
they weren't allowed to swim at West Beach? Or was it a
Not,
segregation
well,
issue?
during our time coming up, West Beach was created for us because we wasn't allowed to swim in, at what is waterfront now used to be called J.C. Beach. They had that, but we couldn't swim there. We used to swim in East Lake, in Lincoln Park, most of us were swimming in East Lake. Held our summer program there at East Lake, and all at once for some reason, they said health issues and everything, they kicked us out of there and moved us over to West Beach. That's what it used to be called Black Beach. That's why we called Black Beach at the time, because that's where we all swim at over there. We still wasn't authorized to swim over here.
Crystal Lake was used back
Crystal Lake was more or less considered a private lake. Most of the homeowners down along the lake shore there were pretty much, and, every once in a while, we would try to slip in there, but we would get chased off. You know, so, but yeah, so it has a little historic value, and that's one of the reasons they would like to see it keep looking good, because it was, like I say, we used to have to swim in there, you know. That's where we swim at. I learned to swim in that lake. You know, they took me out there and threw me in and say, swim or drown, so I guess I'm still here. I learned to swim. But that's it, and I've even had some requests to put a path all the way around the lake, but I don't think that'll ever happen either. So the path would never happen, because I think the owners up on the north side of the lake, I think they got ownership all the way down to the lakefront. I'm not sure. Everything, so I'm just doing the path. But a lot of people want to see a path that instead of them walking the sidewalk all the way up East Avenue, to be able to walk around the lake. Okay. We'll see what they go.
Well, I wanted to bring up one more thing before we leave, because I think we got everything on here, right? For you all to consider, and it's for us as a council. I wanted to bring up for us to have a pay increase. I kept a log of the hours that I've kept over the last several months and divided it by what we make now, and it comes to about $10 an hour.
You make that much an hour? I don't think I make, Mr. Watt, go back and, if I'm not mistaken, I hear what you're saying, and I've had people, a lot of people that come to me and say, we need a pay increase. I've even had people come to council say, hey, we need to be getting more. But I think it's in our charter, how our pay is structured and everything, and it has to go to the people for an increase, I think.
I don't believe so.
I don't know if it's in our
No, it's not
charter.
in our charter.
I'm looking,
Yeah.
because
Vote for
that's,
us.
it
No.
does talk about,
I don't
What
think
you-
I don't think we authorize to vote ourselves.
Well, we can't vote for ourselves, but we can I think legally, we could vote it for future councils,
well,
right?
here's what it says in section 7 of the charter. The council may determine the compensation of councilmen by ordinance, but no ordinance increasing such compensation shall become effective until the date of commencement of the terms of councilmen elected at the next election. Councilmen shall receive their actual and necessary expenses incurred in the performance of their duties. So you can pass it by ordinance, but it'll only be effective. At
We can't, like I said, we can't vote ourselves a pay increase. That's basically what it boils down to.
Did you have data, I'm sorry,
I did.
Crystal, go in there, do you have data as to what other entities
I
or
do.
municipalities are
I do,
doing?
like, Broward County, Margate City, their population is 60,000. Their council member salary is 45,000. Winter Haven is 12,000. Sarasota is 44,000. Bonita Springs is 19,000. Ocoee is 4,000. Fort Pierce is 32,000. Coral Gables is 38,000. Titusville is 12,000. DeLand is 11,000, and Ormond Beach is 14, and ours is 8,500.
Is it a year? And Groveland, the one for last study I really was involved with, Groveland was probably the highest paying council around here in Lake County. At one point, well, when we was only getting $300 and $400, okay, Groveland was getting $1,500 and $1,200 way back when, and we just went from $300 and $400 in 2019. Mr. Waugh, is that when that new ordinance went in? We got the pay increase with 2019.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's set up there, but in 2014 we were still doing and the council was doing 300. Mayor was getting 400, and that was one of my initiatives. Well, one of the initiatives I talked to the incoming mayor about trying to get the pay increase, because I thought they was getting too little money, and besides, I thought an increase in pay would maybe get people interested in wanting to run and everything, and I think it finally went through in 2018 or 2019. I think it finally went to where we are now. And of course, each year with the new pay scale, we get an increase each year. Because I think when it first went into effect, the city council member was getting 600 and then a month, and then the mayor was getting 700, but it increased a little bit now, so where we are now. So, you can, as he say, you can make a motion and do it or look at an increase, but you won't see the benefit of it. You can't do it until the private council, okay, we can't vote ourselves, my understanding, we can't vote ourselves the increase.
Well, I guess, I mean, when I'm reading this, I mean, it won't be effective until the date of commencement of the terms of councilmen elected at the next regular election.
So that would be November.
It seems to me that it should be November, but if it was just gonna be that, why wouldn't it just say until the date of
I
the
think
next?
it has to, in my understanding, because that's why they passed everything and it didn't go in effect until 2019, is because it had to wait the cycle of everybody that was on the council at the time.
I mean, that's what I'm wondering. That's what I'm wondering, but it doesn't, let me just, I'll look at that, it's a little tricky, but yeah.
Because they put it in and it got passed, but it didn't come effective in 2019. Of course, at 2019, Mayor Ash was still here, who actually brought it all forward, and the other councilmen were still here. But I think at that point, everybody had cycled.
I mean, it seems reasonable to, that seems like a common sense thing, but I'm wondering if the words actually say it. Like, I'm wondering if it really means November or December.
Or whatever, yeah.
As it may be. But I'll look into it briefly.
Good, thank you. I just feel like all the work we put in, we should be paid more, and for future council members, it's a lot of work for a small, I call it a stipend, I don't really see it as a salary. And we want to be able to attract more people to come, because, you know, our day will come when we're no longer on here, and I want us to have people who want to come and be able to put the time in, but what we're paid, yeah. I mean, you make more money with flipping a burger, and I think this is.
Well, when I was looking at that way back in 2012, 2013, and I looked at Groveland at 15 and 1,200, and they was only meeting, they wasn't doing workshops, they were meeting twice a month. I say, wow, what a great part-time job. $600 is a meet twice a month. Okay, for a couple hours, okay. You know, and they were always having, every election, they would have plenty of people fighting for the position, so. So that's why I kind of like say, hey, maybe we increase ours, you know, and we was at $300 and $400 for years.
See, I don't look at it as a job, and I don't honestly want elected officials who see it as a job. I see it as service and volunteerism for the community. I worry that if people look at it like it's a way to make money, that it will be something they either feel like they have to get more involved in the day-to-day, which we shouldn't be doing as council members, or it would attract people who are doing it for the money. And I would be, as I said last year, I mean, if we didn't get paid anything, I would consider that appropriate. But I worry about the policy of taking the approach that people who serve on city council, you know, I'm a voice of the people, and it's service, and it's vision, policy, budget, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. And so if we're finding ourselves spending an exorbitant amount of time, it means there's a dysfunction somewhere, and I think that we should be working on reducing the amount of hours that are necessary, rather than trying to increase the pay to attract other people who are adding dysfunction to government.
I mean, I think, you know, it is, at this level, you know, if you go to the next level up, let's say Lake County level, you know, and then it's, you know, everybody's getting paid way more money, but then, you know, like you think of Orlando Mayor, Buddy Dwyer, right? He was
And that's a whole nother.
That's his full-time job.
That's a whole bunch of.
But I mean, you know,
That is a full-time
That's a
job.
whole
I can
nother game.
understand like how, you know,
Yeah,
money attracts, you know, like if you wanna
But
get
it
a good
attracts
CEO,
yeah,
you're gonna have to pay a good CEO.
yeah.
But what is a good CEO gonna work for $44,000? I mean, that's
I
what
mean,
I'm saying. At what
But
point
you're
do
gonna
you
get,
say?
you know, okay, I mean, I can see both sides.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I don't want to just pay all this money and get people to do this, but then at the same time, nobody gonna come out here and really do this. Just one of the conversations I get into is the fact that you don't get paid enough for me to do this. You know, I don't get paid. Ain't no way you can, you know, what you going through
good.
and
I
all.
don't want
And
that
for
person.
me, Here's the other thing I deal with, I make $100, well, it used to be $100 more than the council member, but guess what? I spend a lot of money every month because it's a lot of people expect me to be here, there, and everywhere.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I just got a thing the other night, want me to be at a function, $300 ticket, okay? Okay, I get these kind of invites all the time, and a lot of times I feel like as the mayor, I need to show up, and no, I don't go to the city and ask the city to pay for a lot of this stuff. I pay for a lot of these functions myself, so I spend a tremendous amount of money every month, from functions and all this here. Sometimes I do get invited, and they would, pay for the ticket and everything for me to come, if they really want me to be there, and I'm like, oh, I can't, and they may give me a ticket, pay for my fee and all, but there's a lot of these things that I make, I think I'm up to about $750 a month, and some months I spend almost $2,000 just going to events and doing things.
If it's city business, you should get reimbursed. I mean,
Yeah,
and I
well-
don't mind reimbursements. I'm not worried about that. It's just creating an environment where people feel like they should have a job as a visionary in your neighborhood. I just don't think that
Well,
that's good
that's some people like me. I mean, I did a lot of work in the community, and I still do work in the community without getting paid. Before I was on the council, I put in a lot of work with the police department out there doing things and running around and never got any conversation. But that would mean, just like now, I go to a lot of things, I pay for it out of my pocket. I don't ask the city for reimbursement for a lot of it. Okay, but it get to be very expensive sometimes. And I can understand what you say. She said she could get $10 an hour, and I think I put in a lot more hours than that. I don't think I make $10 an hour.
Probably don't, no, exactly. I just think that you should be, I'm not saying that you do it to get rich, of course not. I'm just saying, I think we should be paid more, because $600 for all this that is required of us in this position, I just don't think it covers. I don't think it's adequate. And again, we want to be able to attract people who want to come here, who have a heart, because is it fair for someone who wants to serve, but they're in a position where $600 is not feasible for them because they have a family that they're providing for, and now they're taking time away from their family, from their full-time job to come here? I don't think so.
What number do you have in mind?
2,000.
For councilman for a month? Wow. Okay. Now, like I say, some months, I've seen months where I keep a log and kind of spend that much money, but not just, for council, but when I go to different activities and different events and everything, yeah, but, wow, don't look for that kind of increase.
Could we, on that note, could we just ask for those numbers of what is the current annual that we put aside in the budget at current pay, and what would then be a projected, if that's the number, just so that people know what that
would
means
look
for the
like.
budget. I think that's what the session is for.
Yeah.
Not to say we approve it or not,
Right,
but to
but
say
just to
this
have an
is
idea.
information that we're seeking to consider in the budget.
And I do think, in reading it, I've come to the conclusion, I think it starts after every election. So in other words, let's hypothetically say, we've got 3 positions up in this election. I think it starts right after that election for those 3 people. For the 2 who are remaining, I think it would start
After their
after,
election.
exactly.
Okay.
I can't support to jump to 2,000, but, I could probably go to 1,000, 1,100 or 1,200 or whatever.
And I don't think that anyone here has said that they'd support or not support
Yeah, it's
any
just-
item that we've
that's
talked
it.
about. I think this is just to give
That's
some
it.
guidance and philosophical and direction for information, inclusion.
Right.
And we talk about it, I mean, there's lots of things we could talk about that, with relation to that. I know that there's you talked about, Councilmember Strange, about reimbursements for things, and I know that there's funds available for that, but it's not real clear to me how that what are those funds actually meant for, and is it per person, or is it a pool, and once it's gone, it's gone? And we haven't really talked, that could spur that conversation to talk a little bit more about that kind of council pot, if you will, piece of the puzzle, and how that works and how that fits.
And like I say, it's up to you all, just like, Like yesterday, I had to go up to Leesburg. And I make these trips to Leesburg, I make them to Barry's on official business, but I don't even file for travel vouchers for 'em, you know? And sometime the other day, I'm like, man, gas getting expensive.
It
Maybe
sure
I need to
is.
start buying gas
is.
vouchers, but I do a lot of
It
these trips and things like this back and forth. But I can support an increase, but I don't think I can go to 2,000. I can't see a $2,000 and everything, so that's a little steep. And we are the largest city, and here's the other thing I look at, we're the largest
We're the
city in
largest
Lake
city in
County.
Lake County.
And we're probably the lowest paid
Yes.
council members in Lake County.
I just maintain that our role is to establish the vision or the direct line from the citizens. The citizens pay the taxes. I'm not comfortable with an increase. I don't think we want to be attracting people where the money impacts them.
I have citizens coming to me all the time and telling we don't get paid enough, and like I said, I've had them come to council meeting and try to tell us we need an increase and everything.
There's the amount of money it would take for people with the backgrounds that we have to come in and consult for somebody, I mean, it's far more than what we get paid, but we're not consultants and we're not employees. We don't work for the government, we work for the people. And the people are paying the taxes. So I just think that that's where I stand on it. Same place I stood last year, and I know we're not saying what we would support or not, but to me, this isn't a budget thing, and I'm wholly uncomfortable even with the idea of it. And so I can't. Sorry.
Okay. Anything else?
Do you have all of these?
I would like to add something while we're talking about paying for things. I talked with the Lake County attorney yesterday, and she had brought up the fact that now we have a lot of the land around Excalibur to see if we were open to taking over Excalibur.
To me, we got a lot of land around Excalibur.
We're
Well,
not.
that we-
We're not.
We're not?
No.
Okay.
Wait, I'm open to it if they fund Hancock. Have them fund
I'm
Hancock.
interested why because I thought we resolved this. We had a conversation with the assistant county attorney and Stoney and myself earlier this week or last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this looks like an end around to me.
Oh.
I mean, what land is around Excalibur that we have?
I'll let you go. I mean, I'm just.
Hey, let's take Excalibur if they'll fund and build Hancock by 2027.
They have
What's their proposal?
I'm just saying.
Their proposal is just for us to take over maintenance and ownership of it.
Why? Why did she say that?
She just said it's built to city standards and that she asked if we'd take it over.
Because they don't want to have to pay for the lighting and everything we finna put out there eventually, hopefully.
They said they would still pay for that.
Huh?
They said they were still paying for the light.
Well, for now, yeah, well, they kinda got their hand tied up right now to pay for the lighting that we're
Right.
putting out there.
I told her I would ask.
Well, let me just tell you what the substance of our conversation was. The assistant county attorney requested that I attend a meeting with Stoney and staff in order to discuss whether or not it was already covered under, we have an agreement, I think, regarding maintenance of certain roads. So if we annex or get, enough, over 50% of the adjacent properties come into the city, then we've agreed already to take it. But, and their position has been that threshold has been met, actually, by Excalibur. Staff disagrees. And so we went through the map and showed, now it doesn't, you as a policy matter can determine that you can choose as a matter of your grace to take it, but under the terms of the agreement, we don't think the threshold's been met, so.
The only piece of property out there, I think in the city is the corner of a Hook and Excalibur, right? That's in the city.
Yeah, I don't know, if I had to guess, we were kind of guesstimating what the percentages are. Yeah, because if you go, and then it turns into,
Well, you got what the name, Eagle Lake subdivision down on the other corner down there, the backside of that on, Excalibur and what's that, Citrus Tower? Because everything else is county.
and unless, Dan, I'm
So
thinking of a
where is
different
the
road, but I'm
50%
pretty sure
coming
we're
in
talking
at?
about Excalibur.
Yeah, I think there's only one Excalibur.
Yeah.
She did none, they did an end around.
They did. Well,
Yeah.
no, so she wasn't at your meeting, right?
No,
It's just
we
this-
had maps,
Okay.
we went over everything.
Okay.
We respectfully said, we will get back to you, but we had a meeting on our end, and it's really clear to us, that at least we're not obligated. Again, if y'all decide that's what you want, but we're not obligated.
Well, I shared in my meeting with Rick on this that I'd be for the city handling all of our roads if it meant that we got appropriate reduction in our taxes to the county for the share of the roads, but I just don't think they're in a position to be able to appropriately identify what that is.
That's why they trying to get rid of them, because
Right.
they don't have the funding to get it, so you think.
Well,
you're
they
gonna
have the
give
funding, they're just spending it on other things, and that's my point, is if, you know, if we look at the $1 billion budget of the county and we look at roads and water and sewer, I guarantee you find there's plenty of money there, but I just think it's like EMS, I just don't think we're gonna get we would not come out on the right end of that, and,
If-
but I think it'd be great if we had control over all of it.
Well, I would love to do that too, and here's one of the things I said to them is the fact that if they bring all the roads up to standard, top standard, I'll be happy to take them.
But we still have to pay for it, and
Well,
they're
if
collecting
they
taxes
bring
to
them up
pay
to
for it.
standard now, I got a little time down the road. I mean, if you upgrade it now and get it up to standard now, I got 10 years or so to play with before I have to worry about it, okay?
We should be
Right
setting
now,
it aside.
don't dump this road on me that's below standard right now, that I
Yeah,
have to go
we
out
gotta pay
immediately and
for
put
it.
money in,
Yeah, no.
okay?
Okay, so basically, they came up with a novel interpretation of the agreement. They said, well, if you take Excalibur past Citrus Tower, then we have all the property.
Well,
That's
it's not-
Steve's
it's
road.
not-
That's
That's
Steve's
Steve's
road.
road.
That's Steve Road, it's not
That's what we
Excalibur
said.
pass.
And the agreement's very
It
clear
changes
that
across
it
the
only
system.
applies to between collectors and so
Right.
like, we just,
That's why I'm saying, we don't have 50%, I mean, we just got the one corner there, and of course, I guess they giving us we got the subdivision there on the corner.
I mean, there's schools, there's schools.
The schools, that's county, that's school board, that's not.
By
Right,
definition,
so,
it's not.
yeah, that's right, so when you look,
We don't have much at all in Excalibur.
well, then,
be
I mean, I'll
honest.
tell you, but then they also, so then they retreated from that, and then they took the position that, well, we've annexed the entire road. Like, we
did?
annexed it, and we're like, we're really struggling to find, so we've looked into this. We immediately looked into this after the call. This was, I don't know, Thursday or Wednesday of last week. And we can't understand but the property appraiser does show that. The property appraiser shows something, there is a map that shows that, but it's never happened. It's not a
Did we
city.
annex something on there?
Well, we do have some, like, you know, a small bit of property along Excalibur that is in our jurisdiction, but it's not clear how any map would show that we took Excalibur. So that was their fallback position, and what my only theory is that maybe someone misconstrued the ordinance regarding Steve's Road to go all the way. That's my best theory,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I don't wanna waste
let me
y'all's
ask
time,
this
but-
question, but here's a good
sorry
question
for my
to ask 'em.
reaction.
Here's a good question to ask them.
didn't know.
If the city owned it, how was it the county was able to go back and rename it?
Oh, yeah, yeah, and
Okay.
has been handling all the maintenance,
Yeah.
and has been, I mean, there's a bunch of things about that, so, but that's not to say that, you know, y'all can't use it as a bargaining chip, you know, if we get something in return as, you know, but we're not obligated to. And
Yeah,
we,
the only-
for those watching in the county, we love working with the county, you know, but, you know, but.
When it comes to roads, I mean, it's just, Excalibur isn't bad, but, in bad condition, but a lot of these roads that I think they trying to get rid of need work done on them, and if they're willing to do the work and bring them up to standard, I don't have no problem.
That was a
with that.
point Stoney raised. I mean, he felt that maybe they weren't up to the city
Right,
standards.
right.
That's
The
why.
county disagrees, but we didn't want to get into that.
Yeah.
So
He
are
said
our
they-
hearts
they
and
did
minds clear?
Sidewalk repairs and
Right.
some.
All hearts and minds clear, so we can adjourn?
Okay.
That was it, Mr. Mathis?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sorry to keep us after six.
Okay, meeting adjourned.